So in the last class, we were discussing about Great Depression, right? And in the Great Depression, so these things are taking place. Wall Street crash is taking place, and as a result, Europe is also coming under depression. Ultimately, what was the solution? So solution was regarding solution. It is known as the New Deal, right? 1933. And in this New Deal of 1933, what was the core focus? Core focus is they identified the problem. See, usually what happens initially, why the problem could not be resolved. Let us take case of our family. For example, if our father he loses his job, right? If he loses his job, then what will the first thing that he'll be doing? The first thing that he will be doing will be that let us cut our budget. If we were earlier spending 20,000 rupees per month, let us now spend only 10,000 rupees per month, which is known as fiscal consolidation, right? This is how governments they also work. That is, this is how factories they also work. That is, cut down our expenditure, right? Now that has a issue, right? That has a issue that demand will not be picked up, right? But imagine if such a scenario is there, which is very weird kind of scenario. If our father loses job, after that he's like, let us, take a loan of 10 lakh rupees from the bank and let us go on a vacation. It is very counterintuitive, right? Right, very counterintuitive. So in the beginning phase, there was focus on fiscal consolidation, right? That is how to improve profits. Let us cut down our cost, because revenue is equal to cost. Profit is equal to revenue minus cost, right? So the natural reaction is let us reduce the cost so that the factories they become profitable, and when the factories they will become profitable, they'll have more money to invest, reinvest, and therefore gradually the economy will pick up, right? Because profit is equal to revenue minus cost. Now because of demand decreasing, because of all of these depression, the factories are not earning anything. So initially the whole focus of the economy became fiscal consolidation, right? But that did not work. Why? Because the real problem was demand. So in 1933, the government decided that we'll focus on creation of demand. That is, we'll do reverse psychology. That will pump in huge amount of money into the economy, right? We will give money, we'll simply print money and we will give that money to the people, so that the people they start buying things. When the people will start buying things, factories they will get orders. When factories will get orders, then the factory will hire more people to match the production. When factories will hire more people, people will get more wages, which will create further demand, which will put more pressure on the companies to produce even more. This kind of scenario. So therefore, government will take all the load. Government will create demand in the economy, and once the economy is stable, then maybe after 10 years, government will increase the taxes, so that the free money which was given by the government to the companies, directly or indirectly, to the people, directly or indirectly, that will be later after 10 years, it will be taken back from the people. So basically fiscal deficit means give if the people are in trouble, they do not have money in their pockets, therefore let the government give huge amount of loan to the people, directly or indirectly. And once the people are capable with the help of that money, that now their economy is running well, now they are well off, then later on after 10 years, 15 years, government can increase the taxes to take back the money which the government has given to the people. This is the idea. How can the government put the money in the pockets of the people? That becomes the question, right? How can the government put money in the pocket of the companies? That becomes the question, right? So therefore here the government will do what? Government will start big projects. Like there was Damodar Valley project. Similarly, Tennessee Valley project will be started, right? Well, huge dams will be constructed, huge roads are going to be constructed, right? And the government is going to bring out tenders, and the government is going to give via banks. Government is going to make available loans at cheap interest rates to the companies. Companies, they will bid in those tenders, they'll win the tenders to fulfill the bid amount, etc. They'll take some initial loan, they'll complete part of the project, they'll put bill to the government that we have done work of, let's say, $1 million, please give us $1 million. Government will give that $1 million. Then they will complete second part of the project, put further bill to the government, right? Government will say, आपने हमारा काम किया है, तो ठीक है, पैसे लो, right? You have done our work. We wanted the Tennessee Valley project to be built, so you have completed this part of the work. Take money. This part of the work, take money. this part of the work, take money, right? So therefore, this is how the companies, they'll start generating jobs. The companies, they'll start, the engine of the economy will start running again. That is one of the method. Second method is MG Narega. You do not have any, एक काम करो, गड्ढा खोदो, ठीक, take 100 rupees per day, फिर गड्ढा भरो, take 100 rupees per day. ठीक है, that is, government simply wants to generate economic activity. Now this is unskilled labor. Now this work can be done in skilled labor also, right? That is fine. Government is building this road, right? So therefore, we want your labor. You work, we'll give you wages. That is the government. If the companies are not able to give wages to the people, the government will give wages to the people, and the government will create work randomly, right? So that over a period of time, people, their household incomes, they start rising. They start going to restaurant. They start going to vacations. They start, spending money, right? When they'll spend money, demand will be created, right? And then the companies, they will get orders. Other kind of companies, they'll also get orders, right? So this was the basic idea which was done. Regarding the aspect of banks, the government, for example, Chai Pe Charcha, this idea is partially borrowed, or can be said inspired from the fireside chats of Franklin D. Roosevelt. It was Franklin D. Roosevelt who was 4 times the president. लोग इतना परेशान हो गए थे Franklin D. Roosevelt से that they brought a rule that you cannot be president for more than 2 terms. Right? Franklin D. Roosevelt, he was very, very extremely popular, and his legs did not function, and he was able to hide it from the people for 20 years. Right? He was able to hide it from the people. Why? Because he did not want to show weakness. Right? So he started fireside chats. Why he started fireside chats? Because everything is about mind. Mind in the sense, it's a video game. Right? That I am transferring 10 lakh rupees to you, we are playing video game. Right? The moment we understand that, oh bapre, this is a video game, in reality, the money is not there. And someone will take out all the money in cash. And when he decides to take out all the money in cash, the bank will say, we don't have this money. From where we give this money? That means run on the banks, जो हमने discuss किया था in the last class. So he started building confidence in the people that your money is safe. I am here, right? And if any bank fails, right, I will give you your money. Do not please line up in front of the banks, right? Because economy runs in this particular manner. If any trouble is there, if your bank account shows you have 10 lakh rupees and you want money at any point of time, really you require money, the government will give. Government will not allow any bank to fail, right? So randomly, when you really do not have any need for cash, when you really do not have any need for money, do not stand up in the queue to deliberately withdraw the money from the banks, right? Confidence was given to the people that government is there, right? That reduced the psychological pressure on the people, and they stopped queuing in front of the banks, right? This kind of other messaging regarding New Deal was also given through fireside chats, right? So ऐसा. Second comment, वहाँ पे ठंड होती है, the winters are there, so therefore fireside chats वाला concept, right? Second, what he said, he set up a security exchange commission, right? So therefore, SEBI-like organization was set up, so that speculative activities are no more allowed, right? So SEBI-like organization came into effect for the first time, right? Apart from this, he brought this insurance scheme, right? जब वो कह रहे थे कि that the government is there, so therefore, like today, finally today, India has, for example, if today banks fail, at least 5 lakh rupees or 1 lakh rupees, insurance is there, right? That is, if I have 10 lakh rupees in the bank and the bank fails, at least 5 lakh rupees I'll be getting back, right? Insurance, right? Of the money which we have deposited in the bank account, right? So this is the idea. So in fact, I was listening to a YouTube video that YouTuber said that if you have 10 lakh rupees, कितना 1 lakh है, 5 lakh की है, 5 lakh. 5, 2, 5. So for example, if you have 20 lakh rupees, divide it in 4 banks. If all the 4 banks fail, still you will get 20 lakh rupees. ऐसा कोई YouTuber कह रहा था. 5 lakh each from each bank account you can get. This kind of scenario. Right. Security Exchange Commission, it is brought. Right. Banks, they are made stable by infusing money into the banks. And this is how confidence in the economy it is increased. Right? So this is how the government does this in the New Deal. After that, in 1939, the World War II begins. And when the World War II begins, so any war in the short term It is fiscal deficit or it is fiscal consolidation. It is fiscal deficit. Any war in the short term is good for the economy or bad for the economy? Good for the economy. In short term, it is good for the economy. In medium term, it turns bad. In long term, it turns bad. Why? Because as soon as war is sought, so therefore the government need tanks. Maybe some new roads are constructed. Maybe people are recruited into the army. So therefore, till yesterday you were unemployed, but right now you are in the army, you will start getting monthly income. Right? So it acts as a fiscal deficit and therefore it boosts demand. Government places order, I need 1,000 tanks. Right? Companies, they'll start getting orders. That is, government requires clothing, government requires shoes, government requires, bags, government requires tanks. Steel companies, majama. Why? Government placed order for 1,000 tanks. That's why US keeps on doing this Iraq, Afghanistan. Whenever they feel their economy is about to fail, they start a war. The war machine of US starts functioning. Because in the short term, it acts as a economic boost. Demand is created. Demand is created. Right? After that, money will be recovered in the form of crude oil from Iraq. Whatever the government spend in the form of fiscal deficit, वो पैसा कभी तो आएगा. ठीक है? How does it comes? It comes from crude oil of Iraq, crude oil of this thing. तभी तो at present, if you look at the US debt, right, it is shooting out of the roof. Why? कब तक चलेगा fiscal deficit? So something is required. अभी यूक्रेन वॉर हो रहा है, another fiscal deficit. Till the point of time, dollar is the international currency. Till that point of time, things are safe. The moment dollar stops being the international currency, that day US economy will crash. Right now, demand for dollar is still there. So despite huge printing of cash, when there is huge printing of cash, what will happen? Devaluation of currency takes place. Right? Devaluation of currency. This one mouse is there, that is the real value, but you printed 1 crore rupees. So therefore, what is the MRP of this? 1 crore rupees. Right? You reduce the cash, you do demonetization. Now only let's say 100 rupees are left in the economy. What is the MRP? 100 rupees. Value तो ये है, पैसा तो क्या है? हाथ का मैल है. Money is just a representation of this. Right? So that is the issue with the US dollar today. That is huge amount of deficit. But still people are demanding dollar. Why? I want to sell you something. You say dollar law. I want to buy something from you. Right? I want to buy something from you. You are like dollar law. Okay, I want to sell you something. I am like dollar law. Right? So despite this, the demand for dollar is still high. Right? And that's how, the devaluation is not taking place. Because devaluation takes place when demand decreases. Right? When demand decreases. When paisa bhai beh raha hai, this kind of scenario. Right? So ये सब चीजें खैर economics से interconnected हैं. So that is how. So when the World War II happened, so therefore, यहाँ तक ये पानी है, यहाँ तक, because of New Deal and because of World War II. So there can be a question that World War II ended the Great Depression. Right? So their answer will be that most of the aspects were taken care of by the New Deal. World War II created short-term demand, a big injection in the economy, and the US economy came out like anything. Right? So from 1941 to 1945, ऐसा US economy is coming out. Right? But always remember, war will devastate big person this much, average person this much. When poverty strikes, the middle class and the lower middle class, they drown. The rich people, they are able to still float. That is the case with world economy also. Right? So Europe got devastated by the World War II. US was able to float, and the gap was pretty big between the US after the World War II and the rest of it. Plus again, you see, 1917 they entered the World War I. 1941 they entered the World War I. Right? 1939 से 41, December 1941. So in that way, half of the World War was not fought by them. Wars were not fought on their lands also. Right? So same history will repeat itself. So this is how the two world wars resulted in devastation of Europe and of economic power of Europe and rise of a superpower US. Economic superpower to 1914 में ही बन चुका था. Right? So this is what is taking place. All of this information, it is there in this particular handout. Right? So we'll write down the impact aspect of the Great Depression, but otherwise this aspect, you see, it is there. All the things which I have said, it is in the handout which is there on Great Depression and the New Deal. Already I think one question has been asked on the New Deal, so दोबारा तो I don't think the question will be asked, right? So एक ही one pager ही है, ठीक है, तो ज़्यादा कुछ है नहीं. न्यू डील भी लिखा हुआ है और सिक्योरिटी एक्सचेंज कमीशन, एमजी नरेगा, a proper department was set up, work progress administration, ठीक है. Conscription was introduced in 1942 when World War II began, so therefore those people who are unemployed, they'll also get a job because they become part of the military, right? Social security was also brought in 1935, that is if you are unemployed, take money from the government. जेब में पैसा भरा रहना चाहिए, डिमांड रहना चाहिए, डिमांड, right? So this is what is being done. And since US economy was the, they are able to, they are a big economy, they are able to take all of this, right? So therefore last class का यहाँ तक covered है 7 points में, present class का 8 point में covered है, ठीक है. So one pager है, इसका simply print out लेके चेप लेना, हो जाएगा ग्रेट डिप्रेशन, ठीक. कोई डाउट? Since we are saving time on dictation, so therefore कोई आपका डाउट है तो पूछ सकते हैं. ग्रेट डिप्रेशन से रिलेटेड सब समझ गया? इतना अच्छा पढ़ाता हूँ मैं. Right. So anyways, write down. Topic is Great Depression, GD 1929. In brackets, write down handout. In brackets, write handout. इसमें हंसने की क्या बात है? Right. First point, Wall Street crash. Wall Street crash. Wall Street crash. Wall Street crash. Wall Street means the stock market of US. Wall Street crash. Reason equal to speculation. Reason is equal to speculation. And lack of regulator. Lack of regulator. Plus high exposure of common man. High exposure of common man to stock market. High exposure of common man to stock market. Plus bubble burst. Plus bubble burst. Plus bubble burst. So Kumar Animesh is asking stock market part. Stock market part is every person had invested whatever money they had in the stock market, right? And because of arbitrary changes in the price of the stocks, people, they will put in money in such companies who on the ground they have not much presence, but arbitrary some rich person creates so much of demand for that stock. For example, I entered a stock, right? I looked at the charts, I entered the stock on 12th of June, right? The next day, right, the stock rose 20%. Okay? The stock rose 20%, right? Now stock is, then it did lower circuit, 2-3 lower circuits, no problem, I'm still in profit only, right? Then again, ultimately in 1 month, by 12th of July, that stock was 58.9%, 60% up from my entry price, right? I logged into my portal, I checked, upper circuit is there, that means no sellers are there, only buyers are there, right? Total number of orders roughly 4,000. Price of the stock roughly 250 rupees, right? I calculated, ठीक है, I calculated, तो it came out to be कितना आया, 4 lakh something, है ना, 25 कितना था, 4,000, फिर उसके बाद कहते हैं 4,000 में और 40,000, 4-8 lakh rupees, है ना यार, only 8 lakh rupees worth of order is resulting in, the upper circuit. That means otherwise there is not much demand, only 8 lakh rupees people are after this. Otherwise, if you look at Reliance, etc., then their orders are placed at 1 crore rupees, 2 crore rupees, 3 crore rupees, ऐसा बहुत सारे लोग, मतलब इतने लोग buyers हैं, तब लगता है upper circuit. That means some operator is operating it, right? That means only with 4 lakh rupees you are able to create upper circuit, right? ऐसा, that means low float, मतलब अब उसको मैं टेक्निकली तो क्या बताऊं, बट उससे ये मुझे पता चल गया कि मैंने प्रॉफिट बुक कर लिया 60%, एक महीना में 60% प्रॉफिट बुक कर लिया रिसेंटली, ठीक है, ठीक है, बिकॉज आई रियलाइज कि ये तो पंप एंड डंप है. पंप एंड डंप मतलब द स्टॉक इज अदरवाइज नॉट फेमस, right? But there are some people who are putting some big money randomly trying to attract people like me into this, got half attracted, left at 60%. मजा, ठीक है ऐसा. Permit. Tomorrow what will happen? These very big people who have most of the shares of this company, they start selling. No buyers will be there, right? And you will not even get a chance to exit, right? Market khula -5%. Market khula -5%, right? Now you cannot sell also because there are no buyers, right? This kind of scenario it happens. ये pump and dump मतलब जिसको समझ में आया ठीक है, जिसको नहीं समझ में आया छोड़ो. But the point is कि arbitrarily creating demand for a stock, right? Attracting people that see this stock is rising, and once enough people have put in their money, after that start dumping your shares, right? So therefore you are exiting at this level, then at this level, up still you are in profit because you entered at very low amount of this thing. आपने अपना सारा 10 crore रुपया 10 crore rupees you have put into that stock. What is your average buy price? Only 60 rupees. Now all the people have got attracted, they have put in their money, now the price is at 160 rupees. At 160 rupees you decide selling in huge numbers, right? Lower circuit. Fine, your average sell price will be 100 rupees, still 40% profit, right? 10 crore rupees will get converted into what, 14 crore rupees, right? Maja, right? But the common man will lose all the money who had invested their small money, right? So aisa. So stock market crash because most of the people that invested their money in the stock market, so therefore the masses, they will be big losers and their pockets are getting emptied, so therefore demand gets killed in the economy, right? And people are bankrupt now. When people are bankrupt, there is no demand. When there is no demand, no one is buying the products of the factories. When no one is buying the products of the factories, factories are like, I do not need these many people as workers. Either I'm going to decrease your wages or I'm going to lay you off. In both scenarios, industrialized economy, masses are workers. That means their buying power will further get reduced. Further get reduced means demands further gets reduced. It becomes a vicious cycle, right? So that is what is there. So write down impact. Depression in US. Depression in US. Depression in US. As all savings. Depression in US as all savings of common man wiped out. Depression in US as all savings of common man wiped out. Therefore, crash in demand. And therefore, crash in supply. Crash in demand. And therefore, crash in supply. And therefore, unemployment. And therefore, further crash in demand. Further crash in demand. Therefore, vicious cycle. Therefore, vicious cycle. Next point. Why US crisis? Why US crisis became world crisis? Why US crisis became world crisis? Why US crisis became world crisis? Dash because US economy, huge, because US economy huge and strongly interlinked with rest of world economy, strongly interlinked with the rest of world economy. Full stop. European exports to US, European exports, European exports to US, और उसके बाद ऐड कर लो European, Japanese, The sentence is Europeans, Japanese exports to US. European, Japanese exports to US declined. Declined. Why? Because US is not buying anything now. Declined. Therefore hurting their economy. Therefore hurting their economy. Plus US FDI in EU, in Europe, US FDI in Europe will decline. Declined. US FDI in Europe declined. Plus web of loans created by US. 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 Draw a triangle. Web of loans created by US. Right? So this you have drawn earlier also. Web of loans. So this is web of loans. That is dollars will be given. Cheap loans will be given to Germany. Germany will pay reparations. France will repay WW1 loans. So this was a web of loan which was created by US. If this ends, then this ends, and this also ends, and France also ends, and German economy also ends. The simple point is, if US economy is depressed, no more money, and German economy had become dependent on US loans. So Germany will crash. France was dependent on war reparations from Germany. France therefore will crash. Right? So this is how crash got transmitted. Had Dawes plan not been there, then probably this depression may not had converted into such a big Great Depression, because their economy is totally dependent on expectation that US will be giving next installment of huge loans. We'll invest that money and our economy will grow. Every plan, every company, every budget of the finance ministry, it is based on free money from the US. And when that free money stops, so therefore you are bankrupt. You are gone. Right? So therefore US created this web of loan. Had Great Depression not taken place and this web of loans had continued for 10, 15 years, 20 years, no problem. All would have come out of it. Right? This is like the fiscal deficit. Internally we discussed the US government putting money in the hands of the pocket so that the people they come out. This is like internationally fiscal deficit, that is US putting money in the hands of the German government and Germany gradually coming out. German putting hands in the money of France gradually coming out. But halfway, if it is cut, then there is problem. Right? So that is what is happening. So write down. German economy was dependent. German economy was dependent on cheap loans. German economy was dependent on cheap loans. By US. Cheap loans by US. And French economy dependent on reparations. French economy dependent on reparations from Germany. Reparations from Germany. Full stop. Now US stopped giving loans. Now US stopped giving loans. And demanded repayment of short-term loans. And demanded repayment of short-term loans. causing crisis in Germany. First off, when German economy crashed, French economy also crashed. When German economy crashed, French economy also crashed. And rest of Europe also adversely affected. And rest of Europe also adversely affected. Full stop. Therefore, world exports crashed. World exports crashed. Overall, what is happening? Overall, demand is not there. In the whole world, demand is not there, right? So therefore, when no one is buying, that means whatever the world was exporting to each other, world exports, they crash. When world exports crash, तो इसको लिख लो, world exports crash होगा, तो फिर भैया जब कोई खरीद ही नहीं रहा कुछ, so therefore investment काहे करें? Why to set up a new factory? Investment will come down. Why to set up a new factory? Investment will come down, right? Right. So investment is coming down. Plus, banks will start failing. Why the banks will start failing? Because corporate income has crashed. So many of the companies, they take huge amount of loans. When people are not buying anything, the companies are not selling anything. When companies are not selling anything, so therefore how the company will pay back loans? When company will not pay back loans, the banks will fail. When the banks will fail, economy will fail. Right? Because banks, they circulate money in the economy. Right? So overall, world exports are down, investments are down, banks fail because corporate fails. Right? Plus another component, that is unemployment will rise. Because overall this cycle is there. Unemployment rises. Why? Because supply is coming down. Why is supply coming down? Because demand is coming down. ठीक है, तो मतलब एक सिंपल टर्म्स में अगर हमें सोचें तो ओवरऑल ये हो रहा है and we can craft it into sentences. ठीक है, so this is what is happening. Next point, solution is equal to New Deal. Solution is equal to New Deal 1933. Solution is equal to New Deal 1933 by FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt. In the exam also you can write FDR because it is used very popularly for him. FDR, Franklin D. Roosevelt, he was the US president, by FDR. Next point, basis equal to create demand. Basis equal to create demand. And idea of create demand and idea of fiscal stimulus. And idea of fiscal stimulus. That is, government will create demand. That is, government will create demand. Government will create demand. Plus, government will put money in pockets of. Government will put money in pockets of companies and people. Government will put money in pockets of companies and people. Next point, how dash. How question mark dash. Giving unemployment allowances. Giving unemployment allowances that is social security. Giving unemployment allowances, that is social security. 1935. हाँ जी, क्या कह रहे हो, थोड़ा तेज बोल लो भाई. हाँ, financially social security. Social security means pensions. Social security means unemployment allowance. That is, if you are unemployed, then still you are getting some money in your bank account. Financial security, social security, financial security, they are linked. यही क्वेश्चन था आपका, कुछ और था? यही था. 1935 Social Security Act. Today also, in so many news items, you see that this is the unemployment data which has come, and these many people in US have claimed unemployment allowance. Every day, every 15 day, this news item comes. Right, yes, sir. So that is social security, right? Plus public works program. Public works program. Public works program. In Bright Stala के MG नरेगा. Public works program in Bright Stala के MG नरेगा. Plus MG नरेगा. Plus fireside chats. Fireside chats. Fireside chats. For confidence, fireside chats. For confidence in public. For confidence in public. To prevent run on banks. To prevent run on banks. ब्राइट में स्टार लगा के मन की बात. ब्राइट में स्टार लगा के मन की बात. ब्राइट क्लोज. प्लस इंश्योरेंस फॉर बैंक डिपॉजिट्स. इंश्योरेंस फॉर बैंक डिपॉजिट्स. प्लस SEC. SEC. SEC to regulate stock markets. SEC to regulate stock markets. Plus big projects started by government. Big projects started by government. Plus WW2. Plus WW2 ended depression. WW2 ended depression. Ended depression. Ended depression. Right? Bright में स्टार लगा के write down. So this is the economics of war. In the short term, it boosts demand and GDP, but in the medium and long term, the fiscal deficit starts hurting. Fiscal deficit would lead to inflation. there are no free lunches. So when fiscal deficit increases, what happens? Inflation takes place, right? Because government had print extra money. So therefore government now, plus government will increase taxes to recover the stimulus, because budget deficit cannot continue. So people will suffer, corporates will suffer higher taxes. RBI will increase repo rate. Why? To decrease liquidity. Liquidity means amount of money which is there in the economy. When extra amount of money is there in the economy, inflation is there. So therefore, to reduce inflation, RBI wants to reduce liquidity. To reduce liquidity, money needs to be less in the economy. So therefore, cheap loans cannot be given anymore. Repo rates would have to be increasing. Repo rate is the rate at which banks borrow money from the RBI. So banks borrow money at high interest rate. So therefore, to be profitable, banks will lend money at even higher interest rate. Therefore, you guys will not take random loans. So liquidity in the market will decrease, right? So this is known as monetary policy transmission. Ultimately, borrowing cost for companies will increase. Cost of production will increase. Tensions will come, right? So in the short term, it is okay, but in the long term, all of these things are there. If your economy got boosted enough by fiscal stimulus, right, as a zoop, then fine. Whatever the costs are there, you'll be able to bear. You'll still be able to float. Right? ये जो cost है, आप सह पाओगे अगर fiscal stimulus worked. Disaster, you did fiscal stimulus, the economy did not fly, and you have reached this stage. बहुत टेंशन हो जाएगा. बहुत टेंशन हो जाएगा. Government gave money, and instead of setting up factory, तुम सबका चॉकलेट खा गए. बहुत टेंशन हो जाएगा. ठीक है, तो ये मामला होता है इसमें. एनीवेज, इकोनॉमिक्स फॉर नेक्स्ट पॉइंट. Next heading, write down. So this is done. Next heading, write down. Run up to WW2. Heading is run up to WW2. Run up to World War II. Run up to the World War II. ब्राइट में स्टार लगा को हैंड आउट. ही क्या हंसते तो हंसते क्यों वैसे, जैसे मैं हैंड आउट बोल रहा हूँ वैसे हैं? हंसी क्या आती तुमको? क्या तो पहले बोलते हैंड आउट फिर लिखवा देते हो? नहीं, समरी लिखवाइए, वो वाले एस्पेक्ट्स उसके अंदर उतने थे नहीं. So when you discuss run up to the World War II, right? So this is there, run up to the World War II. कम्युनिटी डिमांड नहीं ना, वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री कहते हैं, मतलब टाइम बचाना पड़ता थोड़ा सा. ठीक है, इवेंट्स रन अप टू द वर्ल्ड वॉर 2. सो दीज आर द इवेंट्स व्हिच आर देयर. अदरवाइज तो कितने पेज हैं इसमें? आजा आगे आता था, हाँ 12 पेज हैं इसमें, 12 पेज हैं. ठीक है, तो समरी यहाँ पे. ठीक है, रन अप टू द वर्ल्ड वॉर 2. ओवरऑल थीम क्या है? ये तो इवेंट्स है, देखिए these are the events which are present. ठीक है, but what is the soul of these things? Broadly अगर हल्का सा देखें, what is happening? 1931 Japan attacks Manchuria. Japan, which is party to Paris Peace Pact 1928, Kellogg's-Briand Pact, right, whereby Japan agrees that I'll not be following war as a tool of foreign policy. It is breaking that pact, right? It is a member of the Security Council of the League of Nations. क्या मजबूरियां थी जापान की? What were the compulsions of Japan that Japan is starting this attack on Manchuria of China? One question comes to the mind, right? 1933, Hitler became chancellor. Why? Till now, Hitler was not popular from 1924 to 1929 when all things were going good. Dole Plan, Low Treaty, Cow Kellogg's, Raho Young, when German economy was growing, everything was great, right? Nazi party was not winning elections, but suddenly Nazi party has been able to win elections. Hitler is able to become chancellor. What is happening? After that, 1933, Japan attacks rest of China, northeast part of China. World Disarmament Conference. Here Japan withdrew from the League of Nations, that you can go to hell, right? Germany also says you can go to hell, right? League of Nations में Germany was added in a beach में. ठीक है. Then Italy, USSR, non-aggression pact. Italy, a capitalist country. USSR, a communist country. Why they are signing non-aggression pact? That is Italy saying, I will not attack you. USSR saying, I will also not attack you in future. What is this? Why this capitalist country and communist country is coming together? What is the need for them to come together? Right? क्या हो रहा है? ठीक है, 1934 Hitler starts breaking Treaty of Versailles. Treaty of Versailles, no arm. इसने कहा rearm. No arms, no money, no territory, only war guilt. Right? Hitler starts breaking, Treaty of Versailles. 1934 USSR, a communist country, till now जिसका बहिष्कार चल रहा था, till now who was not allowed to be part of elite club of League of Nations, it is allowed to join League of Nations. क्या मतलब, what has changed? Right? क्या हो रहा है? 1934 Germany and Poland, they sign non-aggression pact, that is we will not attack each other, right? But some territory of Germany was given to the BPL, DBPL, P for Poland, right? So what is there? Why Germany, which always wanted territory from Poland, why it is saying that I'll never attack you, right? So what is this Hitler trying to do? Why he is doing so? 1934 Hitler's first attempt at Anschluss, right? It is defeated by Italy. 1935 Hitler introduces conscription, no arms, no money, no territory, only war guilt. No arms में conscription was also banned, that is compulsory military service for the youth is not allowed, right? 1935 something called Stresa Front, माने some kind of alliance between Britain, France and Italy. What is का stress? इनका stress क्या है Stresa Front का? What is the stress of Stresa Front? 1935 Britain Germany naval agreement, right? What is this? तो ये सब क्या चल क्या रहा है, मतलब हो क्या रहा है, थीम क्या है? थीम बेसिकली ये है ग्रेट डिप्रेशन. Reason is Great Depression. Great Depression had huge political impacts. An economic phenomenon which had a huge impact. You can write down a question also. Write down. GD 1929. GD 1929 had huge political impacts. GD 1929 had huge political impacts. And it contributed to rise of fascism, rise of fascism, rise of communism, and WW2 and WW2, right? So what is happening? Who keh raha hai? Basically what is happening is that Great Depression 1929, it resulted in very poor economy. It resulted in huge amount of unemployment. When it resulted in poor economy and huge amount of unemployment, as a result, you see masses, they are always poor. When masses are poor, so therefore they got impacted, right? They are getting impacted much more than the rich people because of this Great Depression. And now they're at the point of desperation. And when they are at the point of desperation, what will appeal to them, right? What will appeal to them? Two kind of people they can be there. Two cases will be there, right? One case scenario is, in fact, for example, of let's say communism. Right? So popularity of communism will rise. Communism, it believes in that capitalism can never provide for welfare of the masses. Capitalism will always lead to rich becoming richer and poor becoming poorer. Right? So therefore this communist ideology which was put into practice in USSR, right? USSR had become the first state to be a communist state. Right? So therefore, you see, communism, it is there since 1920 in USSR, that is Russia, right? So Russia was telling these people that, this capitalism, it is not good, this capitalism is not good. Karl Marx, सही कह गए थे Karl Marx. But यहाँ तो दो plan, low treaty, खाओ के लौज रहो, Locarno honeymoon चल रहा, Locarno spirit, right? This kind of scenario is there. Everyone is like, hey, we are enjoying life. right? Now in 1929, when this Great Depression happens, therefore big ideological points are there for USSR, right? So they say, कहा था ना, Karl Marx was right. Capitalism will ultimately fail the common man. Capitalist system, it is unstable. I told you, right? So popularity of communism rises. And what does communism believes in? Communism believes in, it leads to what? Communism, it basically leads to end of private property. It leads to end of private property, right? What it leads to? It leads to taking away of security of property. It takes away property of capitalist class. It says give the factory to the working class, give the lands to the community. So therefore this leads to what? This leads to huge amount of fear, right? It leads to fear. Kahan pe? It leads to fear in non-communist governments. Why? Because the people, they are going to come to the streets and they are going to overthrow the state. They are going to establish a USSR. It leads to fear in the propertied class. Propertied class in the industrial sector, it is the factory owners. It is the factory owners. It is the merchants. Factory owners, right? It is the merchants. Industrial capitalist and mercantile capitalist, दोनों थर थर कांप रहे हैं, and your landlord, ठीक? So therefore थर थर कांप रहा है propertied class, that one day these people, they will enter my house and they will kill me because method of communist is armed struggle, and they'll forcefully take away my lands. These workers tomorrow, they will come and they will take away the factory, right? Merchants, right? Their goods will be taken away by the people, right? So therefore it creates a huge amount of fear in the non-communist government and the propertied class. And as a result, what happens? This leads to support for, it leads to support for enemy. It leads to support for enemy of communist. And what is enemy of communism? Enemy of communism is fascism, right? Fascism. So now Hitler says, you need a savior, and here I am. Capitalist class, property class, I will save you. I'll save you. This non-communist multi-party democracy, right? It will not be able to save you. I will save you. You need your enemy is very strong. They will not wait for you. They will not wait for your children, right? They will not spare your children, right? Their eyes will not be moist when they cut the throats of your children, right? So therefore you need a stronger protector. This weak multi-party democracy government will not be able to save you. So therefore you need a savior, right? I was telling you since day one, but you were very happy that economy is going on well, etc., etc., right? So therefore my speeches will become very, very popular among you now, right? So therefore the propertied class will look towards, history is repeating itself, my friends. In Italy also this happened after the World War I, right? In 1921, Communist Party of Italy was set up. Fear of communism was there. Mussolini did a march on Rome in 1922, right? So history is repeating itself, right? Poor economy leads to, always remember what is the theme? The theme is the poor economy. When the economy is poor economy, it leads to rise of extremism. And this extremism, poor economy, it leads to rise of extremism. This extremism on the left wing side, it is known as communism. And this extremism on the right wing side, it is known as fascism. The poor people, they move towards communism. The propertied class move towards fascism. That is extreme right wing, extreme left wing. This kind of scenario it is there, right? So rise of communism is taking place. Rise of fascism, it is taking place, right? This is the first case scenario which leads to rise of communism and rise of fascism, right? This kind of scenario. So from where comes the second case scenario? Second case scenario that comes into operation is of, second case scenario is of nationalism. That is extreme nationalism. Extreme nationalism. Extreme nationalism. Why? Because humiliation. Humiliation. Because of desire for second case of extreme nationalism. Extreme nationalism माने कि humiliation. Why? जिसकी इज्जत होती है उसी को बेइज्जती महसूस होती है. The person who has self-respect, right? That is the person who feels humiliated, right? When there is no self-respect, then हंसी आती है. No self-respect. Okay. Right? You need to have self-respect. Only then you'll feel humiliation. And that was the era of extreme nationalism. Nationalism was high, right? Even today, nationalism is high. In all times, after 1789, in general, nationalism is high, right? And we are proud Germans who are right now feeling humiliation. Why? Because we have desire for at least self-respect. If not a great nation, at least self-respect, basic self-respect we need. And what is the situation? But now look at where we are. Once we were a great nation, once we were the second naval power before the World War I. Once we were the second, much ahead economically apart from rest of the European world. But today where we are, economic crash, poverty, 6 lakh unemployed. That was the level of unemployment where we are. And why that is? Because we Germans were dependent on US loans. Why we were dependent on US loans? Because we had to pay huge reparations. Why we had to pay huge reparations? Because we signed Treaty of Versailles. Why did we sign such a treaty? Because we are forced. Why we are forced? Because we lost. And therefore we were humiliated. A great nation was humiliated. Right? So therefore now we need someone who will make us rise. Now bahut hua atyachar. Enough of humiliation. Now we need to rise. Right? This is a theme of Hitler. This is what Hitler tells the people. And what he's telling is true. What he's telling is truth. Right? And because humiliation was real. Treaty of Versailles were real. That's why Britain did not guarantee the borders of Poland and Czechoslovakia in the Locarno treaties. Because Britain also knew that the treaty is harsh. Principle of self-determination and many other things were not followed. ब्रिटेन कहता रह गया फ्रांस को कि 6600 मिलियन पाउंड्स इज वेरी हाई अमाउंट. फ्रांस लाइक लेके रहूंगा reparations, right? Huge war reparations I want. So therefore under the pressure created by France, right, this 6600 million pounds was agreed to. Keynes ने कहा था 2000 million pounds is the right amount. In the last class we had written Young Plan 1929, right? So this is what is happening. So see, because of nationalism, this leads to what? This leads to because one theme of fascism is enemy of communism, another theme of fascism is extreme nationalism, that is desire for building great nation. चाहे कुछ हो जाए, चाहे लड़ाई लड़ना पड़े, beat war or beat anything, मार दूंगा, खोड़ दूंगा, चला दूंगा, but nation needs to be great. You can see this extreme nationalism in China. Otherwise, communist system, it believes internationalism. Today, China says, we have witnessed century of humiliation. Everything is fair in love and war. My nation will be the great civilization again. You see, that is actually troubling US, right? Asa? Fake Chinese goods, copying, this thing, not being transparent in the currency. Sam, Dam, Dand, Bhed, everything will be taken care of. We need to be great civilization again, great nation again. Right? We need to be power. We'll become such a power which can never be humiliated ever. This is the desire, for example, of China. Right? It leads to extreme nationalism. Okay? Extreme nationalism, rise of fascism. Why? Because extreme nationalism is a feature of fascism. Building a great nation. And great nation economically, militarily. Right? That is goal is great nation. And when Hitler, he promised that he will build a great nation from this misery, so therefore people, they got attracted to Hitler. Right, so. And Hitler's popularity will increase. He is breaking the Treaty of Versailles from 1933 to 39. Right? He is breaking the Treaty of Versailles. And Hitler is telling the people, people are cheering, yaar, तुम पहले क्यों नहीं आए? Right? He's introducing rearmament. He's introducing conscription. Right? From maximum army allowed by Treaty of Versailles was 1 lakh men. He'll build an army of 6 lakh men. Right? No submarines were allowed. He'll build submarines. No airplanes were allowed. He'll build airplanes. Kya Raja? You want to fight war? Manna. The world is like, we don't want war. Why? Wars are devastating. कैसे पता? World War I. Poison gas was used. Barbed wires were used. ठीक है? नहीं. लड़ना नहीं. क्या चाहता है हिटलर? बता क्या चाहिए? Whatever you want, we are ready to give you. Right? That is, we are ready to follow policy of appeasement. You can break the Treaty of Versailles, will not do anything. Why? Because we don't want war. हम डर गए. ठीक है? This kind of scenario. We don't want war. We don't want war. Right? And Hitler, मजा में चल रहा. Right? Hitler is saying, अरे मैंने तो अच्छे से मांगा भी नहीं था, तुम तो खुद ही लिया है. ठीक है? Hitler is saying that I did not ask for Sudetenland, right, properly. Right? We'll discuss that. ठीक है? And the world, called as a, so rise of fascism, that is what is taking place. ठीक? Then next scenario, intelligent scenario, that is overall what is taking place is, next aspect that comes into operation is, it is a Trikoniyat scenario. There is MPD, multi-party democracy, which is also capitalist in economy. Then there is communist or communism, and then there is fascism. That is countries which are multi-party democracies, countries which are fascists, right? Fascists are, for example, Germany at this point of time, Japan, Italy. Spain is also there, Portugal is also there, but fine. These are the three main ones which are present, right? Communism, it is USSR. Multi-party democracy, it is US, it is Britain, it is France, etc. These are the major ones. Now what happens is that this fascism, it threatens both multi-party democracy as well as communism, right? This fascism threatens both multi-party democracy and communism. Therefore, two times when we used to fight. So therefore, when you used to get tired, we like two times, pause, right? Therefore, there is temporary pause in animosity. There is temporary pause in animosity of this and this, that is MPD and communism, right? And they temporarily come together, multi-party democracies, they temporarily come together with communist USSR to defeat the common threat of fascism, right? This is what operates in the World War II. All of you know that 1941, USSR was attacked by Germany, and therefore, remember Quit India movement, 1942, why the Communist Party of India did not support the Quit India movement? Because USSR was fighting on the side of Britain. So Britain is capitalist and USSR is communist, but they are coming together. Why? To deal with the common threat of fascism. What is the problem of multi-party democracy with fascism? Because fascism believes in one-party system. It threatens democracy. Therefore, it is against multi-party democracy. And fascism, it is also radically capitalist, and therefore is against communism. It in fact wants end of communism. It is extra radical. So therefore, because fascism threatens one multi-party democracy, and because fascism also threatens communism, so therefore the communist countries, they came together with multi-party democracy in the World War II, 1939-45. That is why USSR will be joining League of Nations. That is why these countries, they will allow USSR to join League of Nations. Right? That is why Japan, Germany, they are exiting League of Nations. Why? Because League of Nations talked about some kind of international peace, etc. Whereas these people, they believe in war to achieve great nation. So this is what happens in the World War II. Overall scenario, what is there? After this, what happens? So in the World War II, fascism is defeated. In the World War II, fascism is defeated. Because Germany, Italy and Japan, they lose. As a result, this threat is no more there. And then the temporary pause, it ends. And now it is US and allies. It is a bipolar world. Bipolar world. It is Cold War. It is Cold War from 1945 till 1991. And on the other side is USSR and allies. USSR and allies. So this is known as Cold War. So therefore, communism and capitalism, communism and capitalism, right? They start fighting again. Capitalism of multi-party democracies versus communism of USSR. Why? Because now they have dealt with the common threat. So therefore now they start fighting again. They resume their fight. They resume their fight. Because common threat of fascism, it is defeated. ठीक है? कोई doubt इसमें? ये अगर आपको ये समझ में आता है, then you'll be able to understand all of those subtopics, those events. But this is the theme. This is how the world operated. This is how the world operated. Right? ऐसा. Okay. Today what is the fight? You know what today is the fight? After this what happens? USSR is defeated. USSR is defeated in 1991. USSR is defeated in 1991. Plus what happened? Today क्या है? Today you have China. Today you have China, which follows what? In politics, it follows one party system. OPS. One party system. Right? That is, it is communist in polity. But from 1976 onwards, it follows it is capitalist in economy. Therefore, it has much better economy than USSR, much better economy than communist USSR of the 1991 era. And today it is fighting against US and allies, which are multi-party democracies in polity and capitalist in economy. So you see what happened? The communists realized that in the domain of economy, because I had communist economy, that's why I lost the Cold War. The communists realized that my Fiat Padmini was racing against Mercedes. That's why I lost the Cold War. That's why I lost the Cold War. And therefore today, what China has done, क्योंकि आप overall देखिए ना, communism in polity also, that is one party system, and in economy also. In this bipolar war, this communist entity, it is failing. Why? Because it feels that because in my economy I did not have capitalism, that's why I lost this particular Cold War. So ultimately, what is the genesis? अपनी कमी को improve कर रहा है China as a communist, and since 1976 China realized that communism in economy will lead to my failure. So therefore in economy they became capitalist, in polity they remain communist, that is one party system, domination of the Communist Party, and now this is Cold War 2.0. What is the 2.0? हमारे से गलती हुआ that at that point of time we are following communist economy, which is not very efficient. तो बेटा अब आ तू. Now you come. Round 2. Cold War 2.0. ठीक ऐसा. तो कम्युनिज्म वर्सेस कैपिटलिज्म फाइट कब स्टार्ट हुआ? 1920 में स्टार्ट हुआ, अभी तक चल रहा. राइट. कोल्ड वॉर 2.0 में क्या है? व्हाट डज दिस चाइना रिप्रेजेंट्स? चाइना रिप्रेजेंट्स दैट इंजन ऑफ फरारी. फरारी की स्पेलिंग क्या होती है यार, बता देना. यही होती है, ठीक है. इंजन ऑफ फरारी, बट ड्राइविंग सीट पे कौन बैठा? कम्युनिस्ट. कह रहा पहले हमारे पास इंजन भी बेकार था, एम्बेसडर का इंजन था, ट्रैक्टर का इंजन था, बेकार इंजन, इसलिए हार गए. अब बेटा इंजन हम, वो ड्राइविंग सीट में हम, ठीक है. सो देयरफॉर ऐसा स्टेट कैपिटलिज्म. द चाइनीज स्टेट कंट्रीब्यूट्स 1/3 टू जीडीपी. उनका पीएसयू they contribute 1/3 to the GDP. State itself is capitalist. Khalisa lands are very high. Khalisa lands, revenue from which goes to the state. 1/3 Khalisa lands, 1/3 GDP contributed to by state. Multi-party democracy में क्या है? State just tax collection, otherwise no own income, minimal state. Chinese state economically rich, Chinese bureaucrat awesome. अलग लेवल पावर है वहां, ठीक ऐसा. State should wither away, ठीक है. This kind of scenario, ठीक. तो ये है सिस्टम, ओवरऑल थीम ये है, ठीक है. दिस इज व्हाट इज हैपनिंग. नाउ राइट डाउन. फर्स्ट पॉइंट, GD 1929. GD 1929 led to GD 1929 led to popularity of communism. Led to popularity of communism. because under capitalism, workers, under capitalism, workers failed, under capitalism, workers failed to have basic economic security. Under capitalism, workers failed to have basic economic security. As proven by GD 1929. As proven by GD 1929. Full stop. Karl Marx was viewed as correct. Karl Marx was viewed as correct, as he predicted in mid 19th century, that capitalism is anti-poor, and unstable. Capitalism is anti-poor and unstable, and is bound to fail. Full stop. Communism is a pro-poor ideology. Communism is a pro-poor ideology. Full stop. Next point. Therefore, rise of communism. As poor were hurt most by GD 1929. Next point. Rise of fascism. Example, Hitler came to power. Rise of fascism. Example, Hitler came to power in 1933. Military rule in Japan in 1931. Plus Franco in Spain. After Spanish Civil War. Franco in Spain after Spanish Civil War, 1936-39. Next point. Why rise of fascism? Question mark. Why rise of fascism? Question mark. Why rise of fascism? Question mark. Dash for sub point. Fascists projected themselves as savior of capitalism. Fascists projected themselves as savior of capitalism. From communists. From communism. Second sub point. GD 1929 led to led to policy of appeasement. Led to policy of appeasements. GD 1929 led to policy of appeasement. Led to policy of appeasement. What do you mean by appease? Appeasement means when you tolerate or you encourage wrong behavior of some other person. When you tolerate or encourage wrong behavior of the other person, because it is a basic principle of psychology, those behaviors which are not punished and are rewarded will be repeated, and those behaviors which are punished will not be repeated. Right? So therefore, policy of appeasement, it basically meant that when Hitler, he is going to break the Treaty of Versailles, then to avoid war, the world is being inactive. The League of Nations is not doing anything. Why? Desire to avoid war. Why? Because Hitler was like, Anna, man, aja, landa. Right? So therefore, everyone saw Hitler as a mad person, right? Who will not shy away, right? Who will not shy away from going to a war, right? But we do not want to go to war because it is in our national interest, national economic interest, because wars are very, very costly. Already the economy is devastated. Right now, if there is a big war, we'll further get devastated. This kind of view is there, right? So therefore, people like, yaar, pagal aadmi hai. He is a mad person. Whatever he wants, just give it to him. Till the point of time, my core national interest is not affected by him. ठीक है भाई, हमें लड़ाई नहीं नहीं आना करे पागल आदमी है. This kind of person, what, right? So ऐसा, he was willing to go to war at any point of time. Right, this kind of scenario is there. Right, why he was ready to? Because he had nothing to lose. A man is most dangerous when he has nothing to lose. Germany is already humiliated by the Treaty of Versailles. Economy has crashed. Right, no arms, no money, no territory, only war guilt. और क्या लेगा? मारना. आजा. कुछ है नहीं. He has nothing to lose. Germany as a nation is humiliated to that extent that it has nothing more to lose, only to gain. Right, and now अब कुछ नहीं. When a person has nothing to lose, then he becomes very dangerous. You will become very dangerous when you have nothing to lose from UPSC. नहीं चाहिए तेरी नौकरी, नहीं चाहिए नौकरी, फिर भी अपन एग्जाम में बैठेगा. क्यों बैठेगा? I have given my 2 years to this preparation. तुला क्वेश्चन ला. नौकरी नहीं चाहिए तेरी, बट क्वेश्चन ला. ठीक, ये क्वेश्चन, ये मैं, माई बैटल इज विद दिस क्वेश्चन, राइट? एंड आई विल ट्राई टू आंसर दिस क्वेश्चन. आई नीड टू वसूल माई 2 years ऑफ हार्ड वर्क. नौकरी नहीं चाहिए. डोंट वांट योर सिलेक्शन, थैंक यू. राइट, व्हाट आई वांट इज, आई हैव गिवन माई 2 years ऑफ टाइम. दिस इज क्वेश्चन, दिस इज मी, राइट? दैट्स इट. लेट्स सी हु विंस. और क्वेश्चन चाहिए? IAS अपने पास रख, IPSI अपने पास रखो भाई, नहीं चाहिए. डोंट वांट एनीथिंग फ्रॉम यू. ठीक है, कुछ नहीं चाहिए. नथिंग टू लूज. एग्जामिनेशन टेम्परामेंट टॉप नॉच लेवल, राइट? तुम्हारा हाथ पे पसीना रखा, हाथ कांप रहा है, मेरा होगा नहीं होगा. दिस क्वेश्चन रॉन्ग, विल आई क्लियर प्रीलिम्स दिस टाइम और नॉट? मेरे घर वाले मेरी शादी करा. A person who has nothing to lose, like आजा, question come, ठीक है, this is question, this is me, right? आजा, कौन है? बुद्धिज्म नहीं आता. I have come here to take the wages of my hard work. Did I work hard on art and culture, on Buddhism? No. So no tension. आपसे कुछ चाहिए नहीं. Buddhism, first. I'll not even read the question. क्योंकि simple है, ethics है, integrity है, ठीक है? Because I have not worked hard on Buddhism, because I have not worked hard on, let's say, art and culture. तो why should I? भाई आपसे कुछ नहीं चाहिए, आप मेरे दुश्मन हो ही नहीं, ठीक है? Because I have not worked upon you. So fine, I'll not even read the options. क्यों उसमें टाइम वेस्ट करूँ? मुझे तो अपनी मेहनत का चाहिए ना, ठीक है? नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, पॉलिटिया, इकोनॉमिक्स, आजा, ठीक, तुझे देखता हूं, राइट? ऐसा 1 hour लेफ्ट, ऑल द क्वेश्चंस आंसर्ड जो मेहनत के थे. नाउ 1 hour इज लेफ्ट, 45 minutes आर लेफ्ट. चलो देख लेते, क्या पता बुद्ध जी को प्रणाम करके कुछ आ जा तू जा. एग्जामिनेशन टेम्परामेंट टॉप नॉच. अदर पर्सन ग्रीडी, उसको कुछ चाहिए यूपीएससी से. अदर पर्सन इज लाइक बुद्धिज्म करके छोड़ूंगा. अरे भाई तूने पढ़ा है क्या है? हैव यू रेड आर्ट एंड कल्चर? तुझे अपने आप से सच नहीं बोलना आता. डोंट यू वांट टू स्पीक ट्रूथ टू योरसेल्फ दैट यू डिड नॉट अंडरस्टैंड आर्ट एंड कल्चर? नहीं, वहां पे जिद बनाए बैठे हैं. नहीं रट्टा तो मारा था, ठीक है. सम रोट लर्निंग अंडरस्टूड, नो, रट्टा तो मारा था. इसको आंसर करने की कोशिश करेंगे, ठीक है. हाफ ऑफ दी ओनली 15 minutes आर लेफ्ट एंड स्टिल 20 क्वेश्चंस यू हैव नॉट इवन रेड. व्हाई? तुम्हें कुछ चाहिए था यूपीएससी से, and you felt that if I'm not able to answer this particular question, then that thing which I wanted from UPSC will be taken away from me. That's why you fail. Right? ऐसा a man is most dangerous when he has nothing to lose. कर्म कर, फल की इच्छा मत कर. भूख लगी है, फल सामने है, फल को हटा दो, तभी फल की इच्छा नहीं होगी. That level of आध्यात्म you have not reached. दैट पेट में भूख लगी है, सामने मस्त कहता पनीर बटर मसाला रखा हुआ एंड करके खाने की इच्छा मत कर. क्यों? सलाइवा तो आएगा मुंह में, ठीक आएगा ही. इसलिए सीधी सी बात, हाँ अब वो कोई और खाना खा गया तब नहीं होगी फल की इच्छा, बिकॉज अब फल है ही नहीं. अब पता है अपना बॉडी फैट यूज करना है, आज रात को खाना तो है नहीं, तभी तो नहीं होगी फल की इच्छा. अदरवाइज विल ऑलवेज बी फल की इच्छा. राइट? सो देयरफॉर पहले ही कह दो फल नहीं चाहिए. I don't want to be IAS. Thank you. Thank you for wasting my 2 years, 3 years. Thank you. जाता कि नहीं जाता? नहीं चाहिए भाई, तुमसे नौकरी नहीं चाहिए. जब तक साइकोलॉजिकली यू विल नॉट कम इनटू दिस मेंटल थिंग, इनटू मेंटल सिनेरियो, जब तक आपको इस जिंदगी से, और जिंदगी में चाहे यूपीएससी हो चाहे बाकी लोग हों, जब तक आपको लोगों से कुछ ना कुछ चाहिए होगा, जब तक भिकमंगे की तरह, ठीक है, ऐसा हाथ फैलाए रहोगे जिंदगी के सामने, इट इज नॉट जस्ट अबाउट यूपीएससी, लाइफ के सामने भी, तब तक हमेशा डरे रहोगे, हमेशा डरे रहोगे. है मेरी वीडियो पे कितने लाइक्स आया है, मैं भी नोटिस कर रहा हूँ जैसे मैंने अपना स्टार्ट किया है थोड़ा वो है, कितना लाइक्स आया. कल मैंने डिसाइड कर लिया, मैं कहा नहीं चाहिए लाइक्स वाइक्स, नहीं चाहिए. ठीक है, जो पता है कुछ भी नहीं चाहिए, जो पता है वो बता देना है. पसंद आए ठीक है, नहीं आए पसंद नहीं ठीक है, नो इश्यूज. रिटर्न में कुछ नहीं चाहिए. रिटर्न में तो कहे न्यू कमेंट, नोटिफिकेशन, न्यू कमेंट. ये क्या जिंदगी है? कमेंट के मोहताज बने हुए यहाँ पे. ये कोई जिंदगी है यार? कर्म कर, ठीक है, नॉर्मल एंजॉय लाइफ, ठीक है. बिकम मोस्ट डेंजरस. क्या हो गया आज? मोटिवेशन, मोटिवेशन इज वेरी नेसेसरी है. तुम्हें मेरे 10 मिनट के मोटिवेशन से प्रॉब्लम हो गई. यहाँ लोग क्या कहते हैं, इतने फेमस हो रखे हैं वो पूरे क्लास में बस मोटिवेशन ही देते रहते हैं. बिकॉज Hitler is all about motivation. You need to understand that why the Germans were so passionate about him. ठीक है, when a person speaks with passion, right? So even if 30% of you, even if 20% of you were able to get attracted to what I was saying, you were able to feel some sense of energy what I was saying, right? So therefore when Hitler, when he used his power of speech, and when तुम्हारे दर्द पे मैंने चोट किया, ठीक है, I try to hit on your pain point. Why? So that you are able to develop empathy with those Germans whose pain point was this humiliation, right? And therefore, why will the Germans support a Hitler? Why they will neglect that this Hitler who is murdering Jews, news were there, rumors were there that mass execution of Jews is taking place, but why they were willing to look away? Because their pain was getting relieved by Hitler. राइट? तो जब तक आप अपने पेन को पिंच नहीं करोगे, एंड यू विल नॉट फील दिस दैट ओके समवन इज मोटिवेटिंग अस, राइट, एंड देयरफॉर वी आर फीलिंग अ सेंस ऑफ एंगर इनसाइड अस कि मेरी जिंदगी का क्या बढ़ता बना रखा है इस यूपीएससी की प्रिपरेशन ने. टिल दैट पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम यू कैन नॉट डेवलप एम्पैथी, और यू मे बी एबल टू बेटर डेवलप एम्पैथी इफ यू आर नोइंग दिस एसोसिएशन, दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो इट इज देयर. तो हिटलर ऐसा स्पीच देता था, ऑसम. ठीक है, दिखाता हूं आपको हिटलर कैसा स्पीच देता था. उसके बाद फिर हम ब्रेक पे जाएंगे. इसमें दो है.
Volksgenossen und Genossinnen, meine deutschen Arbeiter, ich bin aus euch selbst herausgewachsen, bin einst selbst unter euch gestanden, bin in 4,5 Jahren Krieg wieder mitten unter euch gewesen und habe mich dann durch Fleiß, durch Lernen und ich kann sagen durch Hungern langsam emporgearbeitet. In meinem innersten Wesen bin ich immer das geblieben, was ich. Da muss der deutsche Junge der Zukunft schlank und rank sein, flink wie Windhunde, zäh wie Leder und hart wie Kruppstahl. Wir sind entschlossen, ein neues Geschlecht heranzuziehen. Sie reden nicht von den Zehntausenden, die Jahr für Jahr den Gashahn aufdrehen. Nicht, weil es ihnen zu gut geht. Es ist die Überzeugung, dass eben doch dann einmal die Stunde kommt, in der die Millionen, die uns heute verfluchen, hinter uns stehen und mit uns begrüßen werden dann das gemeinsam geschaffene, wiedererkämpfte, wiedererfahrene, neue deutsche Reich der Größe und der Ehre und der Kraft und der Herrlichkeit. Es alles ist heiß. Die große Zeit ist jetzt angebrochen.
इतना से clear है.
Ist nun erwacht. Die Macht haben wir nun in Deutschland gewonnen. Und wir ein Reich sehen. Und ihr müsst euch schon dafür erziehen. Wir wollen, dass dieses Volk einst gehorsam ist. Und ihr müsst euch in den Gehorsam üben. Wir wollen, dass dieses Volk ein friedliches und aber auch tapfer ist. Und ihr müsst friedfertig sein.
So, you see, commonality between the anger, which was, I was trying to connect to your pain, the same kind of thing, same kind of behavior this person has. That was the reason for the motivation speech. Difference was, the Germans, they are feeling motivated. You are like, sir, क्या हो गया आपको आज? That is the difference. अच्छा, ये वीडियो जो है, it's a very interesting way also to understand the goals. अभी I'm going to play the video again, but I'm going to highlight what do these words they mean, and we'll connect it with the treaty of Versailles. Right? Look at the power of the words, what he's trying to say.
Volksgenossen und Genossinnen, meine deutschen Arbeiter.
What does he say? My fellow,
Volksgenossen,
you see, my fellow countrymen, nationalism, okay, and my fellow German workers, because his competitor is Communist Party of Germany. So therefore, he does not want because in any industrialized economy, the masses, they will be workers, right? And masses, they are also nationalist. So half a mind of a common man will be working class, half a mind will be nationalism, right? So there's a competition between the Communist Party of Germany and the Nazi party. That's why he's talking about fellow German workers, because he does not want the German workers to be purely supporters of Communist Party. Right?
und Genossinnen, meine deutschen Arbeiter. Ich bin aus euch selbst herausgewachsen. Bin einst selbst unter euch.
I came from among your ranks. That means he's trying to tell them that rise is possible. That rise is possible. He's trying to inspire confidence. I was one of you and I was right beside you.
Gestanden. Bin in 4,5 Jahren Krieg wieder mitten unter euch
World War
gewesen. Und habe mich dann durch Fleiß, durch Lernen und ich kann sagen durch Hungern langsam emporgearbeitet.
Enduring great hunger. He's in a way trying to tell you that like you were, having food shortages, etc. after the World War I, I was also having those food shortages, but still a rise is possible, right? This kind of scenario is, I hold myself up. So what he's also trying to say is extreme nationalism, it has this ideology of sacrifice, Remember the Jacobins of the French Revolution 1789? Idea of sacrifice for your nation, right? That is, it is okay to bear hunger for the nation.
In meinem innersten Wesen bin ich immer das geblieben, was ich. Unseren Augen, da muss der deutsche Junge der Zukunft.
Now, Hitler was also famous for racism, right? Hitler was also famous for racism, and there used to be proper examination of each of your smallest of physical feature, right? Your nose shape, your ears, etc. And on that basis, a certificate was given that whether you are a Jew or you are not a Jew, right? Around mid-30s, a law was brought. Nuremberg laws were brought around 1935, 1936, whereby if you are a Jew, then you cannot be citizen of Germany, right? He believed in Aryan race and therefore physical features. That's why he's talking about this physical fitness and
Lang und rank sein, flink wie Witthunde, zäh wie Leder und hart wie Kruppstahl. Wir sind entschlossen.
Another component of fascism is indoctrination. Indoctrination means at the school level itself, fascist literature was taught, right? And after school, you'll be attending the fascist camps, or Hitler's Hitler's youth एक organization था, whereby indoctrination was done, right? So therefore, catch them young kind of scenario.
Ein neues Geschlecht heranzuziehen.
This was done by communists also in their education system. They would be brainwashing the children, right, against capitalism and against multi-party democracy. Here, opposite it is taking place.
Sie reden nicht von den Zehntausenden, die Jahr für Jahr den Gashahn aufdrehen. Nicht, weil es ihnen zu gut geht. Das ist Überzeugung.
Right? So, for example, what about the sacrifice of our nation? That is the German people. उनके दर्द को कोई नहीं समझता है, and everyone is talking about other countries' interest, this kind of scenario. Also, overall in this, you notice that how big flags are there, how very big meetings are there. By the way, who produced this movie? This is produced, translated into with subtitles, but this movie, it is produced by Nazi Germany. There was a Ministry of Propaganda which used to bring out these kind of clips, right? So that people, they are able to know that under Hitler, we are a great nation. When huge rallies are there, when show of strength is there, when show of flags is there, so people, they are able to feel that after Treaty of Versailles, we are humiliated, but under Hitler, we have become a great nation, right? So therefore, use of these big banners, if you notice in the meetings.
Doch, dann einmal die Stunde gekommen.
He was a great orator, by the way.
Millionen, die uns heute verfluchen, hinter
This is
uns
the capitalist
stehen
class,
und mit uns
propertied class, right? Propertied class supported Hitler. Why? Because Hitler was able to improve the economy and Hitler was able to tackle the challenge of communism. Propertied class supported.
Und dann das gemeinsam geschaffene, wiedererkämpfte, wiedererfahrene, neue deutsche.
New German Reich. When we discussed the unification of Germany, we talked about two Germanys, normal Germany and Greater Germany. Greater Germany included Austria populated Germans who were there in Austria, their territory also. So Germany, when it was unified, Greater Germany was not there, right? Austrian territory was not taken away. But he wants to build this German Reich, or a German state which will be ruling all the Germans. So he wants Anschluss with Austria. Okay, sir. Greatness, honor and strength. So belief in great nation. Look at the display. So to get rid of unemployment, what he started, SA was the private army, because SA was the private army of the Nazi party, because the Treaty of Versailles had said that only maximum 1 lakh soldiers will be there. So therefore, as a result, even this number of soldiers, it included the police. So therefore, there was a cap by the Treaty of Versailles, and as a result, not many policemen were there. As a result, what happened? Each and every party in Germany, be it Nazi party, be it Communist party, other party, they started having their private army. This became a vehicle for Hitler to provide jobs. Why? Salary was given very less. Only some peanuts were given as a salary. But the uniform gave a sense of respect to the German youth, that we are wearing this uniform, right? SS was the private security of Hitler. SA was the private army of Nazi party. right? So look at the numbers, SA and SS rise. So he's partially able to take care of this unemployment by recruiting more and more people as part of the party cadre.
Die große Zeit ist jetzt angebrochen.
Germany has finally awakened. So basically, as he keeps on breaking the Treaty of Versailles and he is regaining the pride, so that is the meaning of finally awakened.
Die Macht haben wir nun in Deutschland gewonnen. Und wir ein Reich sehen.
Single unified Reich. That means
Euch schon
principle of self-determination was not followed by the Treaty of Versailles. All Germans under one Germany.
wir ziehen. Wir wollen, dass dieses Volk einst gehorsam ist.
Communists, they believe in armed struggle at the ground level. Communists, they do not believe in peace at the ground level. So when he's saying, so obedient means whatever the government is saying, you have to follow, right? That means anti-democracy and also anti-communist in a manner. Okay?
Und ihr müsst euch in den Gehorsam üben. Wir wollen, dass
You want the people to be peaceful? It is anti-communist.
und aber auch tapfer ist. Und ihr müsst friedfertig sein.
Right. So that is what is there. Okay. So after the break, we'll meet, right? Because it is huge number of events. We are not going to discuss each and every small event. I wanted the soul of this thing to reach to you, right? So that's why we try to cover it like this. We'll bring more formality to it after the break, right? But this is what fascism was, and this is what your Hitler was, right? So after 10 minutes of break, we'll take care of this. So right on second point. First point we had written, projected themselves as savior of capitalism. है ना? Second point write down. GD 1929 led to policy of appeasement. इतना भी लिख लिया था शायद हमने. Led to policy of appeasement dash. In brackets you can write down POA. Policy of appeasement in brackets POA. Bright slows. Dash. Tolerate or promote. Illegitimate behavior. Tolerate or promote illegitimate behavior of aggressive foreign powers. Now, as my students, I want you to apply world history. I know from world history questions they come less, but the whole purpose of all of this drama that we do in the class, right, is to generate empathy, is to generate this sense of visualization. Okay, that is the idea, right? So, as my students, I want you to think about that from what has been learned by the world leaders and by the countries from the world history, that today when Russia acted as an aggressive foreign power since 2014, in 2014 it took over, earlier also it acted against Georgia, then in 2014 it took over Crimea, and then now it has attacked Ukraine. So therefore a new viewpoint that why NATO and why the European powers and why the US is supporting Ukraine, an alternate viewpoint from the perspective of the world powers or the Western European powers, that why they are ready to suffer oil shortages, right? There was news that the winters are going to be cold, and without the Russian oil, these things are going to be there. Still, why they acted in favor of Ukraine and against Russia. So therefore, if you know this history, that when the policy of appeasement was followed with respect to Hitler, so one day Hitler, right? So if you tolerate the wrong behavior, it increases the confidence of the aggressive nation, and therefore there has to be a line drawn beyond which if the aggression takes place, then we have to act. Otherwise, what have we learned from world history? Otherwise, what will prevent rise of new Hitlers? This is the viewpoint from the West, right? And this is how a new viewpoint from the historical perspective towards why, what is the reason because of which US is supporting Ukraine in the war, why NATO is supporting Ukraine in the war, right? So this should be the learning from your perspective. So try to think about it when we discuss the future aspects. So write down. Next line, 1933-39, 1933-39, League of Nations, LON, and world powers League of Nations and world powers did nothing when Hitler broke, did nothing when Hitler broke TOV, when Hitler broke TOV, Treaty of Versailles. Because US, Britain, France, comma others, because US, Britain, France, comma others wanted to avoid war, due to devastating WW1, comma GD 1929 and costly wars. Next point, because of POA, fascists, because of POA, comma, fascists were emboldened, EMBOLD, emboldened. That is belief, that world won't ever act. That is belief that world won't ever act. Therefore became more and more aggressive. And when threshold crossed, finally the world acted, and WW2 began. Right? Next point. Rise of fascism resulted in decline of rivalry, between communist USSR and capitalist West. Fascism was common enemy. But when WW2 ended, rivalry resumed. In form of Cold War. Next point. GD 1929 did not impact. USSR economy. GD 1929 did not impact USSR economy. कौन बता पाएगा? कोई है? माई का लाल या लाली? हाँ जी बताइए. Very good. Isolated. Always remember that interlinked economy. That was the issue. And therefore, what are the interlinkages? When a rope comes from the US in the form of imports, another rope comes from the US in the form of exports, third rope comes from the US in the form of FDI. These three are the bridges which interconnect the economy of US with the economy of any country. But if USSR was being boycotted, by the world because of sanctions. That is, we are not going to interact economically, we are not going to trade that much. Why? Because you are communist. So therefore those bridges are not there, and therefore the virus of Great Depression 1929 will not be able to travel. Since you are not dependent on US FDI, so when there is no US FDI, you're not impacted. Life remains the same. So because USSR was kind of cut out from the world economy, therefore the Great Depression did not also impact the USSR economy. Right? And therefore GD 1929, if this was the status, this is USSR economy, this is the capitalist economy. GD 1929 brought the capitalist economy down, but USSR economy stayed where it is. Right? So therefore, and then the World War II further brings down the capitalist economy except for the US. And therefore, if you remove the US from the equation, and if you only think about Western Europe, which is capitalist, and USSR, so in fact USSR it is here, and Western Europe it is here, USSR it is here, right? So therefore two world powers are there overall. This is US economy wise, USSR less but decently ahead of rest of Europe. Nuclear power 1945 US, nuclear power 1949 USSR, right? Largest army in the world USSR, right? So therefore after the Cold War, after the 1945, the world got divided into two superpowers, a communist system and a capitalist system, right? So this is how the things they are operating. So write down, क्या लिखा हमने? GD 1929 did not impact USSR economy because it was not interlinked, with economy of capitalist world, because it was not interlinked with economy of capitalist world. Full stop. In fact, under Stalin, in brackets 1929-53, in fact, under Stalin, 1929-53, USSR began proper IR. Emerging as second superpower. By end of WW2. Emerging as second superpower by end of WW2, World War II, right? Now, these are events, right? So from the perspective of the exam, if you remember only this much, right? Obviously, you'll focus on the why and the how of things. But in the exam, if you remember only these words, maneki, only this much content, that will be good enough for you to answer any kind of questions. For example, how Hitler demolished Treaty of Versailles. Answer इसी में से आ जाएगा. 150 words में लिखना है. Small focus on why. Details of all of these events, they are given below. Okay? Verbally, we'll understand everything, right? Because we have to deep dive. But otherwise, only the first page of this is good enough. And what your homework is, I've already, tried to shorten it, right? So you don't have to go through each and, you have to go through once, but आपको एक basic चीज निकाल देना है. जो verbally मैं बोलूँगा, either from the recorded class, you can extract, write down, pause करके. Otherwise, on your own, you can create a short summary out of these 12 pages. Convert these 12 pages into maybe 5 pages or 4 pages or 3 pages or 2 pages, right? इतना ही. Exam में इतना ही required होगा, but थोड़ा सा समझ के चलते हैं, ठीक है? कि क्या हो क्या रहा है यहाँ पे, right? So all of these topics which I have written, they are present here also. So for example, Japan attacks Manchuria, its elaboration is there on the first page, right? So let us understand what is happening. So when Japan attacked Manchuria, right? Why did it attack Manchuria? It attacked Manchuria because from the, अभी इसको सुनो, उसको मत देखो, फिर वो क्या है कि फिर वो मोनोटोनस हो जाता है, एक सेंट. I want to be free. जब मैं पीपीटी के थ्रू ऐसे पढ़ाता हूँ कि ये देखो ये देखो ये देखो, देन मैं मतलब वो जेल सा बन जाता है मेरे लिए कि अभी मेरे को बस यही बोलना है, ठीक है? फ्री फ्लो खत्म हो जाता है उसका. आप भी बोर हो जाते हो कि अच्छा अब ये पढ़ रहा है सेंटेंस, ये पढ़ रहा है सेंटेंस, ये पढ़ रहा है सेंटेंस, ठीक है? ये तो हम सर खुद ही पढ़ लेते हैं, ठीक? ऐसा फीलिंग आता है आपके अंदर, ठीक है? वैसे नहीं करेंगे. विल ट्राई टू डेवलप अ स्टोरी बिहाइंड इट. So interconnections will be there, right? So we know that from 1916 to 1928 in China, there was warlord era, That means there was no central government, right? We know that Kuomintang was set up in 1912 by Dr. Sun Yat-sen, right, to establish a proper strong central government, which will also be a republican government, right? KMT and CCP. CCP was set up in 1921, Chinese Communist Party. They fought together, right? And ultimately by 1928, Kuomintang, which is the senior party because it exists since 1912, right? It is able to form the central government. Now, Kuomintang ka nabz kya hai? It is pro-capitalist, right? So therefore, it starts supporting the companies of China that you go to Manchuria, I am the government, compete with the Japanese companies, I'll give you tax SOPs, I'll help you. Now, Manchuria was very, very coal rich and therefore very, very important source of raw materials for the Japanese also, right? Japan has Manchuria as a sphere of influence since the defeat of Russo-Japanese War में Russia को जो defeat किया था उसके बाद से Japan was using the coal of Manchuria. Now, from one side, Chinese companies are threatening. Externally, our economy is an export-oriented economy because otherwise our domestic market is very small because Japan is very small. So therefore, at this point of time, if we are going to lose the coal of Manchuria, then what will happen to our economy? Any which ways, what is our northwestern neighbor? USSR, right? So geography-wise, communism is present there. Great Depression has hurt my economy. There is a rise of communism in Japan, which threatens my capitalistic economy, right? So what to do? For one way or another, I am going to need the coal of Manchuria as an assured source of raw material. So I'm not going to care about Paris Peace Pact of 1928, that is Kellogg's-Briand Pact. I'm going to attack Manchuria and I'm going to create a puppet state. That is, I'm going to create a new country called Manchuria, whose government will do whatever I want it to do. And the government will give contracts only to the Japanese companies. This is why the military of Japan, it attacked Manchuria and it created a puppet state of Manchuria. At this point of time, the civilian government of Japan, it opposed the military. It said, what are you doing? This civilian government was overthrown by the military, leading to establishment of military rule in Japan in 1931. And the people supported. You know why? Because in Meiji Restoration, we discussed that in education, extreme nationalism was promoted. That is, national interest is paramount interest. We don't care about democracy. We don't care about anything, only national interest. So therefore, military rule was supported by the people because people also knew that this is, so yes, one section of the society, it is supporting communism, but there is another section of the society which favors capitalism, right? So therefore, ऐसा. So this is how military fascism, it is established in Japan. League of Nations पे मुद्दा गया. China appealed to the League of Nations. League of Nations ordered Japan that you should exit Manchuria, and if there is any dispute, let me handle it. Give Manchuria to me. Don't give it to China also, but let me act as an arbitrator. Japan said, I am exiting League of Nations itself. Okay, भाड़ में जाओ. ठीक? So this is how fascism got established in Japan. This is how fascism got established in Japan, right? I'll just give one example. The example is what? So what is the reason? Japan creates puppet state of Manchukuo. Great Depression, it hurt export-oriented economy of Japanese. Rising influence of Chinese businesses in Manchuria because of KMT support post 1928. Threat of communism in Japan because of failing economy. Impact, failure of League of Nations as Japan did not follow League of Nations direction of vacating Manchuria and arbitration. Beginning of appeasement of fascist powers as now Britain and US, they did not act against Japan despite breach of pact made during Washington Conference also. In the Washington Conference, they had agreed to territorial integrity of China when they exited Kiaochow Island in Shantung province. World War I के दौरान जो उन्होंने टेरिटरी लिया था उससे एग्जिट किया था. जर्मन पैसिफिक आइलैंड्स को माना गया था दैट जर्मन पैसिफिक आइलैंड्स दे विल बी जापानीज पैसिफिक आइलैंड्स नाउ एंड देयरफॉर इट इज अ ब्रीच ऑफ दिस एग्रीमेंट आल्सो, नॉट जस्ट द पेरिस पीस पैक्ट. Impact, rise of fascism in Japan as military overthrew the civilian government that had opposed the aggression in Manchuria. So I'm just giving you an example that whatever I'm going to speak, everything it is written here. So you don't have to have this anxiety. तो focus आप सिर्फ समझने पे रखें. Only try to focus on understanding. Everything which I'm going to speak, it is here, right? Because it is written by me, so language is going to be same. ठीक है? So now let us focus on this broad picture, है ना? ताकि हम उसमें गुम ना जाए. ठीक है ना? In 1933, Hitler became chancellor, right? So how Hitler became chancellor? He came to power through free and fair elections. right? Why? Because communism was rising, and when communism was rising, so Hitler was making that kind of speech. एक तो मैंने आपकी empathy के लिए आपको speech दिया, और उसका ही parallel version मैंने आपको I tried to show you on this, right? So when these kind of speeches were being made, so therefore the Hitler's speeches, they became more and more popular, and in the elections, Hitler's Nazi party was able to do very, very well, right? On the other hand, there was system of proportional representation. Like in Italy, there was SOPR after 1920, before 1922, from 1920. That is, if you get 30% vote, then you get 30% seats. As a result, in Weimar Republic, the governments were coalition governments and they were unstable governments, right? So therefore, Hitler could accuse the Weimar Republic that these people are not able to get over their party politics. ये लोग क्या तुम्हारा ठीक है, ये लोग थोड़ी तुम्हारा उद्धार कर पाएंगे. These people, they will not be able to uplift you, right? So therefore, you want a strong leader, and he projected himself as a strong leader who will restore the pride of the Germans. He regularly attacked Weimar Republic, saying, you know what? Saying that Weimar Republic stabbed Germany in the back. By signing the Treaty of Versailles, Weimar Republic stabbed Germany in the back. Because Kaiser to bhag gaya tha. Kaiser had run away. And after the German Revolution took place, so they're stabbed in the back. He created a myth, right? That Germany was about to win the war. But German military came to know that we have signed armistice in 1918. And therefore, German military was stabbed in the back by these people, Weimar Republic people, right? So this gained more and more traction, right? And because Treaty of Versailles was, in which way, is very humiliating. So therefore, this gained more and more popularity, and he was able to do well, right? He was able to become, Nazi party got second number of seats. There was another party whose name was Nationalist Party. But Hitler said that if you want my support to form government, you have to offer me chancellor, otherwise nothing. These people, they thought that since Hitler is just going to be chancellor, home minister, finance minister, they will be non-Nazis, so we'll be able to control Hitler. But after that, Hitler did what? As soon as Hitler came to power, he dissolved the Lok Sabha, right? And he did fresh elections. But because he was the chancellor, police was under his control. So he misused the police and the state machinery. And again, when election results came, so communists were targeted, etc., etc. So he was able to get single party majority this time, right? This is how he came to power. After coming to power, Hitler brought a law, right? As per that law, for the next 4 years, no assent of parliament is required for a bill to become a law. You know how he was able to get this, right? How he was able to get this? अभी single party majority अभी नहीं आया, ठीक है, मतलब largest party आया. You know how he was able to get this? He was, because कहीं ना कहीं SOPR तो है अभी भी, right? So fine, his party will be largest party, but so basically inside the parliament, SA was present or SS was present. I'm slightly getting confused कि अंदर कौन था. And outside the parliament, inside the parliament, let's say SA was present. Outside the parliament, SS was present. And they were raising slogans, sign or die. Sign die nahi, parliament adjourn, sign die nahi. Sign or die, right? And so therefore, these member of parliament, they are shivering like anything, and they sign. And this is how dictatorship, it is established by Hitler. For the next 4 years, constitution, it is suspended. Whatever Hitler will say, that will happen. Democracy is suspended. That is, no chief minister will be there. Governor rule will be there in all the provinces, right? This is how, so kind of like emergency it is declared, right? So this is how Hitler starts operating. All other political parties were banned. That is, only Nazi party will make the country great. No other party is allowed. So this is how Hitler is beginning his journey. This content which I have just spoken regarding the internal politics of Hitler, that is available in the PPT on rise of fascism in Germany. These events, etc., they are there. Just time to make some interconnections, right? So Hitler has come to power in 1933. What he has promised to the people, that he will make Germany great nation. Economy wise also he will make great, and he will break the Treaty of Versailles. That is his promise. Bhai, ek to baat manni padegi, Hitler was man of his word, because he did uplift the economy. By 1939, he declared zero unemployment. And by 1939, he did break the Treaty of Versailles. ठीक है, ये तो उसने किया था. ठीक है, तो चलो देखते हैं क्या किया था. तो ऐसा 1933 Japan attacks northeast China. See, this attack, it can still be justified that Japanese economy was an export-oriented economy, fear of communism was there, but there was no logic rationale. It was simple greed and empire building, right? And here the Japanese, they did Nanking massacre also, whereby a lot of Chinese people, they were massacred, right? So this is pure aggression by the military, right? But the world is not doing anything here also, right? Why? Because like here, the world does not want war, right? So therefore, US, Britain, they don't do anything because they want to avoid war because wars are costly. After this, World Disarmament Conference takes place. In the World Disarmament Conference, there's a universal disarmament. Hitler proposes that I have a proposal. What is the proposal? Either allow, and look at the diplomacy of Hitler. Kitni shandar diplomacy. Hitler basically says that either you allow me parity of arms with France. Why? Because what does history tells us? You disarmed us, and after that in 1922, the French and the Belgians, they crossed into my territory and they occupied Ruhr. After 1919, you tell me, मैंने कौन सा aggression किया भाई? What aggression I have done? Right? I feel vulnerable. I feel vulnerable that I can be attacked left, right, and center at any point of time. Right? This treaty of Versailles is harsh. So either you agree that I'll be allowed parity of arms, right? Or I'm going to exit the World Disarmament Conference and the League of Nations. As simple as that. Britain was sympathetic. Okay, let us try to do something. France is like, no, no, no. France is like, इसकी स्पीच सुनी तुमने? ठीक है, रंच रुंच रुंच कहता है, उसको सुन के लगता हमें फाड़ देगा, ठीक है, हमारे मैप को फाड़ देगा ऐसा, ठीक है, this person is dangerous person, we are not going to allow parity of arms and all of that. Hitler said, I am not asking for military advantage. By France with you, Britain is there, right? Other countries are also there with you. तो डर काहे रहे हो? ठीक है, why are you shivering? ठीक है, why are you shivering, right? I'm not demanding that I'm extra powerful, right? US will be there with you, Britain will be there with you. मेरी क्या औकात that I'll be able to? I'm asking for only my self-respect. I want parity of arms. I want a defensive army, not a aggressive army. France like, no. Then he got a alibi. He said, hence proved that League of Nations is an organization of you people. Okay? And you do not believe in justice. Now I will disarm. Jo karna kar lo. Whatever you want to do. So therefore he got a diplomatic upper hand also. And Britain is trying to manao France ki yaar kya kar raha hai, France kya kar raha hai. So I let, okay, this kind of scenario is taking place, right? And he's able to tell the Germans also कि देखो, I've exited League of Nations. अत्याचार नहीं सहेंगे, काटा, ठीक ऐसा. Then Italy USSR non-aggression pact. बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग है वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री. इससे प्यारा सब्जेक्ट मतलब क्योंकि ठीक है, अमेजिंग. अब एक क्वेश्चन यूपीएससी थोड़ा कम पूछ रहा है तो हम क्या करें, कभी पूछ लेगा तो अच्छा हो जाएगा वापस से. ठीक है. So what is happening is, look at the irony. You know who was the only person who did not follow policy of appeasement towards Hitler? It was another fascist called Mussolini. Italy. Italy का टेंशन क्या था? Germany is here, Austria is here, Italy is here. And if Anschluss is done, that is, if Austria-German union takes place, which is barred by Treaty of Versailles, then although Alps are there, but still Germany will be at the knocking at the door of Italy, and then to get access to the Mediterranean Sea, what if it attacks Italy? So therefore, in the national interest, Mussolini stood up, right? And it became the first capitalist country to reach out to USSR saying, let us sign a non-aggression pact. This is not a military alliance. It simply says that we will not attack each other, but it is a step closer to a alliance, right? So therefore, this is how Italy is taking initiative, that on the Germany, Poland, USSR, Germany, Austria, Italy, right? So if we two are together, maybe we can counter from two sides. This is the reason for this. Then 1934, Hitler introduces the rearmament. That is, he declares that in next years, I'm going to have lakhs of people in my army and I'm introducing rearmament. This brought great popularity for Hitler. Not just of the people, but you know, power politics में सिर्फ जनता काम की नहीं होती. जनता के अलावा कुछ और एक्टर्स भी काम के होते हैं. In power politics, it is not just the people who are important, but certain other power holders are also important, and army is a power holder. This was music to the ears of those military generals, right, who go to the parade ground, right, and they salute, right, and only 10 people are there. General like, कहा जनरल का खाए का जनरल 10 ठोलोक नहीं है सलाम ठोकने के लिए. What जनरल? They're not feeling ठीक है. रिपब्लिक डे पे परेड हो रहा अगर, ठीक है, तो 1 टैंक इज कमिंग, 6 टैंक्स आर कमिंग, ठीक है, मतलब नो टैंक्स, 0 टैंक्स, ठीक है, ओनली 6 बैटल शिप्स, उनका फोटो ही दिखा दी बस. ओनली 1 लाख सोल्जर्स आर देयर. तो सारे के सारे रिपब्लिक डे पे आ गए तो बॉर्डर कौन गार्ड करे? विल गार्ड द बॉर्डर्स, राइट. सो देयरफॉर क्या, किसको मतलब एक इज्जत, एक रिस्पेक्ट फॉर अ मिलिट्री जनरल, इट इज नॉट देयर. But by introducing rearmament, the military class becomes very fond of Hitler. क्या यार हिटलर यार शांत है, अच्छा आदमी यार, good person, right? So that is what is going to happen. Rearmament is also going to upstart the German economy, because orders will be given for more tanks, orders will be given for airplanes, orders will be given for submarines. Fiscal stimulus starts, German economy starts rising, right? So that will be there. Then 1930 rearmament begins. So therefore, those who are neighbors of Germany, they start shivering. So USSR is allowed to join League of Nations. Why? Because now the capitalist world is like, if Germany tomorrow attacks, then on the two-front war needs to be recreated, right? But the problem with two-front is 1894 secret pact between France and Russia. But now after 1920, Russia is communist, which is resulting in lack of any friendship. So at least some steps closer we can come. Give USSR, you become part of the organization which is required to maintain world peace, right? So this is how USSR enters, right? So we had already written the theme of it, that rivalry between communist world and the capitalist world decreased because of fascism. This is a proof of that. See? 1934, Germany, Poland signed non-aggression pact. You know what is the brilliance here, right? Hitler looks at Poland. Poland is like, why? Because some territory was given to the BPN, Danzig port under League of Nations, so that Poland can have access to sea, right? So Hitler looks at Poland and is like, kaam kahe rahe ho? Poland is like, the whole world is following policy of appeasement. If tomorrow you attack me, then what will happen to me, right? So France is like, don't worry, in the Locarno treaties, I have guaranteed your borders. Poland like, बैठते बहुत देखे तो भाई Locarno treaties, Locarno इतना सब हो रहा. Japan is doing so many things, right? Who is helping us? Treaty of Versailles is being broken, right? Why are you doing anything? I don't have faith in your Locarno. You go to honeymoon, I am not coming to honeymoon. Locarno spirit, I don't. सारा spirit हवा हवा हो गया, ठीक है? Sorry, right? And as soon as now Hitler, you know, Little Entente, you should check out Frappe in Romania. There was an alliance called Little Entente. There was an alliance called Little Entente. Because USSR was communist, so therefore, ये वाला आपको पहले बताया तो है, you should check out Frappe in Romania. नहीं बताया, बता देते हैं. So because USSR was communist, so France was really missing bad. France was really missing alliance on the right hand side of Germany. Why? Because USSR is communist, so therefore how to have a alliance with, you know, how to encircle Germany. So therefore at this particular point of time, between 1920s में when all of these things were taking place, so France set up a smaller alliance. See, France, mnemonic is, you should check out Frappe in Romania. अच्छी मिलती है, जाके पियो रोमानिया Frappe. You, Yugoslavia, should check out Frappe in Romania, right? So basically France, because it cannot have an alliance with USSR now, so France tried to encircle Germany, this, so that if Germany attacks here, then from this side you can attack Germany, right? So you know what is the brilliance? Brilliance is that if Poland says non-aggression pact, that means if Poland promises Germany that I'll never attack you, and Germany also says I will also never attack you, then he has broken the alliance which was built by France in absence of USSR to counter Germany. Therefore now this you should check out FRE in Romania. Pe hai nahi. Right? This is how he has broken the little entente. Right? By acting aggressively, making Poland shiver, and then giving an olive branch to Poland that I'll never attack you. But you also promise me you will also never attack. अरे हम कहाँ attack कर रहे हैं यार? No sign करो. France is like please don't sign, please don't sign. Poland is like sorry, I don't think that you will actually come to my help because you're following policy of appeasement. Right? This is what he is able to do. Right? This is the brilliance of Hitler. Then 1934, Hitler's first attempt at Anschluss defeated by Italy. So Germany is here, Austria is here, Italy is here. Right? Aisa, this kind of scenario. Now in Austria, which has most of the population as German, there was also a Nazi party. Like there can be a communist party in India, there can be a communist party in Italy, there can be a communist party in China. Similarly, there was also a Nazi party in Austria. Now the Nazis of Austria, they created ruckus. That is on the street, they started protests. Right? And it seemed likely, in fact, at that particular point of time, I think the Home Minister of this thing was also executed. Right? Home Minister of Austria, who was not a German, right? He was also executed. Nazis of Austria had murdered Austrian Chancellor. And now it seemed like that at any point of time, the Hitler's army will enter Austria and it will do Anschluss. Right? Because Austria may be Germans are there. Okay? So at this point of time, Mussolini, he stationed his army on the Austria-Italy border. And Mussolini is telling Hitler, you want to fight? Come. At this point of time, Hitler's military is not that strong because he has just in 1934 itself, he has introduced the armament. So he does not have the confidence to fight Italy. Italy, which is a member of League of Nations. Right? So therefore Hitler backs off. And now Hitler realizes that I need friendship of Mussolini if I want success in my dreams of doing Anschluss. Right? So now Hitler will talk very politely to Mussolini. अरे आप ही से तो मैं प्रभावित था. After your march on Rome 1922, I did beer hall push. वो beer थोड़ी ज़्यादा हो गई थी, तो इसकी वजह से beer hall push failed. Right? Because the police of Bavaria, it stayed loyal to the state. Otherwise, आप तो मेरे गुरु हो. You are the first fascist. You are the first fascist. हम तो आपके चेले हैं. ठीक है? ऐसा this kind of scenario he is building. That is, he is trying to use common fascist ideology to say कि सर आप वीरू हो, मैं जय हूँ. ठीक है? जय वीरू scenario. ठीक है? ऐसा. In 1935, Hitler introduces conscription. Another breaking of the treaty of Versailles. No arms. No money, no territory, only war guilt. No arms में, only 1 lakh soldiers, no conscription. Rhineland should be demilitarized. Only 6 battleships, no tanks, no submarines, no airplanes. Okay? So he's now. It also increases popularity of Hitler because as soon as you introduce conscription, pride among the people, right? And second, jobs for the people. Now, youth who has just come out of college will be able to have at least 6 months of job. At least 6 months of job, right? This kind of scenario. And you know what is the bahana Hitler gave? Hitler said that France has increased the tenure of conscription from 12 months to 18 months. And therefore, we are feeling a threat from France. France has increased the tenure of conscription from 12 months to 18 months. Therefore, we are feeling threat from France. Therefore, it is our compulsion that we have to introduce conscription. See, diplomacy going on simultaneously. After this, 1935 stress up front. क्या stress था ये? ये basically एक alliance था. Britain, France and Italy. What is Italy and Britain and France observing? Conscription has been introduced, right? Either a non-aggression pact with Poland has been there. Anschluss had been tried once. Rearmament has been introduced. So therefore, Italy is fearing, and Italy is now saying, मैं तुम्हें तब ही कह रहा था that in the Locarno treaties of 1925, you should have guaranteed borders of Austria. But you guys did not listen to me at that point of time. right? Principle of self-determination. Okay, so finally Britain and France said, okay, we realize our mistake, but therefore let us come together in some kind of an alliance. So therefore this guaranteed the borders of Austria. That is, if tomorrow Hitler does Anschluss with Austria, then these three countries will attack Germany. So therefore it is an attempt where policy of appeasement is not being followed. It is an example of policy of appeasement not being followed. But after this, Britain does something which infuriates Mussolini like anything. Mussolini realized कि जिस थाली में खाया उसी में छेद कर दिया. Mussolini realized, what is this? Britain Germany naval agreement. बिना बताए, without telling me, you're signing naval agreement. Till yesterday, we were handling our stress at Stressa front. Today, you have signed naval agreement. You know what was this naval agreement? This naval agreement allowed that Germany can have 35% navy. मतलब size of German navy can be 35% of the size of British navy. It is a break of Treaty of Versailles with consent of Britain. Because Britain says, Treaty of Versailles say what? No submarines. Right? Submarines were also allowed, navy is also allowed. Britain ka thought process kya tha? Britain thought process is that one way to avoid war is to, why will Hitler want war? There must be, because wars are costly for everyone. So Hitler, what is your parishani kya hai teri? Right? He says that Treaty of Versailles is humiliating. Okay, if I remove the humiliation part of the Treaty of Versailles, then everything is okay with you. Hitler will say, yeah, it's okay. One way to avoid war is to not further humiliate Germany, right? So therefore, दोनों चीज रखो साथ में. चाणक्य नीति अपनाओ. Stress up front in one hand, and on the other hand, remove the grievances. Even still, you try to go for war, then I can easily defeat you because your navy is going to be just 35% of my navy, plus you have a stress up front. Right? So therefore, get rid of the reason of the war. Every nation should have its military. Every nation should have a navy. ये कहाँ का मतलब है? No submarines. So therefore, yes, indeed, Treaty of Versailles is very, very harsh. So therefore, let us get rid of the grievances, जिनकी वजह से लड़ाई हो सकती है. That was the view of Britain. But Mussolini was like, you have stabbed me in the back. You have stabbed me in the back. You have stabbed me in the back. Right? This is तिलमिला गया Mussolini. So this is what is happening. But look at the brilliance of Hitler, that by acting in a very aggressive manner, right, with his speeches, etc., Hitler is making Britain to sign the naval agreement also. ठीक ऐसा हो रहा है. German people are cheering. German people like Hitler. मजा आ गया. This kind of scenario is becoming popular among people. In 1935, Italy attacks Abyssinia. Remember Abyssinia? The only country who could stay independent in scramble for Africa. Orthodox Christianity, supported by military of Russia, armed by military of Russia. Italy had underestimated it. So therefore, now, good economics is good politics, bad economics is bad politics. Mussolini is also dealing with this Great Depression, and he is becoming unpopular among his people. Because he is not able to deal with Great Depression. Great Depression was a big challenge. So therefore, his popularity was coming down. So he decided, let me use nationalism. He decided, let me use nationalism. If I'm able to have revenge of 1896 Battle of Adowa, then people will clap for me. And my stability in power will be there. People will cheer for me. Plus, Italy will be able to get a new colony, which is a source of raw material and export market. So economy will also improve. So prestige will also increase. Economy will also increase. And Italy is a member of League of Nations. Security Council member. Frisbee, France, Italy, Japan, Britain. They were the 4 Security Council members. He attacks Abyssinia. Abyssinia goes to the League of Nations. League of Nations is able to do nil bata sannata 0. Britain and France, they do not say anything. You know why? Because they are like, Mussolini is angry. If we take any actions against him, right, then Stresa front will break. Right? That's why they don't do anything against him. This kind of scenario. So they applied very mild sanctions on him. These mild sanctions, they also infuriate Mussolini like anything. He's like, sanctions? On me, sanctions? Hey? Why there should not be sanctions against you? मेरे ऊपर sanction लगा दे. Because you see, in fascism, the image of the leader is very important. कि Mussolini पे sanction लगाया. This kind of scenario it is there. right? So he became very angry, and this resulted in break of Stresa Front any which ways. This is another example of policy of appeasement. That is, world is not doing anything against the aggressor nation. After this, in 1936, Hitler, he sends his army to Rhineland. Rhineland, this is France. Rhineland, Germany. So therefore, remilitarization of Rhineland, that is, German military is sent to Rhineland. And Hitler tells the world, you want to fight? The world is like, no, we want to avoid war. We don't want to fight war. Then, in 1936, Germany, Italy, they sign an alliance. Because Stresa Front is already broken. You know what? When the whole world powers, they applied some mild sanctions, Britain, France, etc., some mild sanctions on Abyssinia. Some reporters asked Hitler, what do you have to say on what Mussolini has done? Hitler did no comments. ठीक है? Mussolini is looking at Hitler. You are the only one who supports me. ये तो दुश्मन दोस्त से अच्छा निकला. ठीक है? So Hitler is deliberately staying quiet, not applying any sanctions on Italy, not criticizing Mussolini at all. Why? Because when he had tried Anschluss earlier, it was Italy who had stopped him. So therefore, Mussolini is like, ये यारों का यार है. जय वीरू type. ये होता दोस्त. ठीक है? So therefore, now he draws closer to Hitler, and they are signing this German Italy. Rome is the capital of Italy. Berlin is the capital of Germany. So it is like from the middle of Europe, एक ऐसा axis. And you know what they're trying to say? They say that those people who want peace, they should rotate around this axis that connects Berlin to Rome. That means they are simply telling the European powers, if you want peace, do kowtow in front of us, bend in front of us, except that we are the top two powers of Europe. Rome, Berlin, axis. Basically, it is an alliance. दोनों के बीच में alliance हो गया. ठीक है जी. 1936. अब देखो, अब कोई टेंशन नहीं है. अब Germany, if it takes over Austria, no tension. ठीक है. 1936, Germany and Japan, they signed Anti-Comintern Pact. Anti-Comintern Pact, Comintern was the organization of the communists of the world. Right? So Germany and Japan, they come together and they sign an alliance. Why? We are together into a military alliance. Why? Because we want to defeat communism. So these people, they wanted to make the world also fool. Germany used to tell the capitalist world, don't fear my rise, support my rise. You know why? Support my rise, because this is Germany, right? And this is Poland. Poland है नहीं, एक ही बात है. This is USSR, right? And you are the Western capitalist world, right? And if communism will try to move left, I am your soldier. I am the frontline defense. So instead of talking about Treaty of Versailles, Bevkoufon, I am your defense against communism. Support me. Don't fear my rise. Support my rise. Are you stupid or what? Divide and rule. Some politicians in France, they say Hitler is saying correct. Some politician in France, अरे बेवकूफ बना रहा है. He's playing divide and rule. And as a result, France is not able to, French politicians, they are not able to come to a consensus that they sign a military alliance with USSR like they had before. (1894) Secret Military Pact. Germany felt encircled, if you remember. This was Britain. This was Russia. This is France. Since 1894, they had this secret pact. 1907, Britain-Russia agreement. Entente Cordiale 1904. Germany felt encircled. This ताकि ये ना हो, so Hitler is using that this USSR is communist, right? So rather support me. Do not become its friend. Otherwise, it will eat the whole capitalist world. I'm also supporter of capitalism. You're also supporter of capitalism. What problem do you have with my fascism? He's able to use this as a divide and rule tactic. So France and USSR, they are not able to come together. This kind of scenario, right? So this is what he's doing. And in fact, they are signing this Anti-Comintern Pact. Why? On the right hand side of USSR, Japan is there. right? So basically, we'll try to counter USSR from two sides. Anti-Comintern Pact. So they are trying to tell the world that we are not anti-democracy, we are basically anti-communism. So therefore, don't oppose us. This is how he is trying to use this. Okay. 1936-39, Paris Civil War was there, right? Basically here, why it is important? Internally, though, the military of Spain, it fought against the communists of Spain. And ultimately, Franco was able to capture power. Here, Mussolini and Hitler, they supported Franco because they wanted spread of fascism. But you know, ये important क्यों? Hitler was able to prove to the world that I'm mad. Aata maaji satakli. Hitler was able to prove to the world. Hitler had no issue in Spain. Still, he used airplanes and he bombed Spain. Those areas where communists were present, those areas of Spain, they were bombed by Hitler. For no reason. In support of Franco. Right? Lakhs of thousands of civilians were bombed. And the world powers are like, yaar, pagal hai kya? Is this person mad or what? There is no issue which concerns Germany in Spain, and still he is bombing Spanish people like anything, just because supporter of Franco. डर बिठा दिया लोग कि मैं पागल हूँ, मेरे से पंगा मत लेना, पागल हूँ मैं, I'm mad, कुछ भी कर सकता हूँ मैं, right? So now policy of appeasement will increase. बोले भाई ये आदमी पागल है, कुछ भी कर सकता है. He is not thinking rationally. That is the idea actually. Second reason was Spain shares a coastline with the Atlantic Ocean. So therefore, with Franco in Spain, I'll be able to get access to the naval bases of Spain, and in future I can dominate the Atlantic Ocean. That was the idea. 1937, Italy also joins Anti-Comintern Pact. So therefore now Italy, Japan and Germany, they are together. 1937, full invasion of China by Japan. This point we have discussed earlier also, right? And world is not doing anything. World is not doing anything. So policy of appeasement is continuing. 1938, Anschluss is done by Hitler. Why? Because Italy has no problem now. Because Mussolini and Hitler, they are Jain Viru. Right? This kind of scenario. 1938, Munich Conference. What is this Munich Conference? Munich is in Britain. Munich is in Germany. Right? A conference is called. Right? And you know, in conference, kya tha? So after this Anschluss, Greater Germany is kind of created. Okay? Now, Hitler starts making speeches against Czechoslovakia. Starts saying aggressive speeches for getting back Sudetenland. Getting back Sudetenland. Sudetenland earlier belonged to the Austria-Hungary Empire. And it was given to Czechoslovakia. And Germans were there. But it was not given to Germany, obviously, because principle of self-determination was not followed in the case of Germany. In the case of Germans. So Hitler now starts making aggressive speeches for Sudetenland. I want Sudetenland, Sudetenland, hamara hona chahiye, ek din hamara hoke rahega. This kind of scenario. So the world is now, and he made such aggressive speeches that Britain and France, they are like, hey, this person can attack Czechoslovakia at any point of time. Right? So it was Britain and France, right, who were like, let's hold a conference, let's hold a conference. Okay, Hitler, hello, please, conference. Right? So conference is called in Munich. Right? And in this conference, what is agreed? That Sudetenland of Czechoslovakia will be given to Germany. But after that, Germany promised that Germany will not attack rest of Czechoslovakia, or he will not raise any demand with respect to rest of Czechoslovakia. Why? Because rest of Czechoslovakia, they do not have Germans. Principle of self-determination, हम मान रहे हैं आपका, Sudetenland is given to you. 3 points arise. First point. What is the first point? मोबाइल देखना बंद कर दोगी जब मैं फर्स्ट पॉइंट बताऊंगा तो. आंखें खुल जाएंगी तुम्हारी. Imagine Czechoslovakia was not even present in the conference. It was not even invited in the conference. The country's part you are going to give to Germany, that country is not even invited to the conference. That is the level. That is the level. Right? Second part. It lays the foundation of breakup of Czechoslovakia into Czech Republic and Slovakia. Why? 35% of the industry of Czechoslovakia was there in Sudetenland. So therefore, huge economic loss to Czechoslovakia. 35% GDP gone in one day without the consensus of Czechoslovakia. Huge economic boost to Hitler's Germany. Right? Next, Hitler, he went to the people of Germany, made speeches. He said, I had not even asked properly. And they gave Sudetenland to me on a platter. See, this is what I have brought to you, Germans. This is what I was saying when I became Chancellor. In 5 years, this is where I have brought Germany. Earlier, people used to laugh at you. Today, people fear you. Today, they are giving us what is due to us on their own. I have brought you pride. And Germans are clapping like anything. Why? Because that was the truth. That was the truth. Right? So this is what is happening. Right? So this is what happened. Udhar, rest of Czechoslovakia is now under stress. Wahan pe Czechs and Slovaks, two different ethnicities, for money they had come together for economic viability, but now breakup is going to take place. Right? Aisa tensions are going to be there. Munich conference. Right? But also another thing is there. Acha, Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia is making a call to Poland. France. France, in the Locarno treaties, you had guaranteed borders of Poland and Czechoslovakia. Remember? Locarno treaties 1925. France like, row number. What will be Poland thinking here? Poland will be thinking, ठीक है. By signing non-aggression pact with Germany, ठीक है. See, this is what they are doing. Policy of appeasement in operation. That old treaties, they also do not matter in your national interest. Right? Yes, sir. Then 1939, Czechoslovakia, huge amount of distress is there. Economy is down. Civil war-like situation is there. Right? And now what happens? Now, Germans, they put pressure and to restore law and order, because Trahimam was there, a lot of violence was going on in Czechoslovakia. So therefore, Germany put pressure, Czechoslovakian government hatash. It has no hope from France, from Britain. They are the ones who are responsible for this. They know there is no point of fighting also. So sooner or later, right? So Germany forces them to request military help from Germany to restore law and order. So Hitler's army enters Czechoslovakia and rest of Czechoslovakia is also taken over. Just 1 year back, some months back, a promise had been extracted from Hitler that he will not take over rest of Czechoslovakia. You know what did Britain and France say? They say, अरे तो जर्मनी थोड़ी अटैक किया यार, वो खुद बुलाए हैं उसे. Germany has not attacked Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia has invited Germany. And therefore, the principle of security given in Munich conference does not apply, not legally valid. Because it is not an attack by Germany, it is an invitation by Czechoslovakia. Heights of policy of appeasement. However, now threshold is also crossed. Now the world powers, they also decide, enough. If tomorrow Germany does anything, we will act. Because otherwise, he is not going to stop. Policy of appeasement has failed. What is the connection with modern history? How Muslim League was able to achieve Pakistan. Policy of appeasement. If you appease, if you tolerate wrong, illegitimate behavior, then the confidence of the party which is wrong in ethics, it increases. Right? It does not decrease. Right? So from world history and from modern history, you understand that policy of appeasement is wrong. This kind of scenario, it is taking place. Right? Sir? Also, this was the first time when Hitler had taken over non-German population. And therefore, he had went against the principle of self-determination. Till now, he could justify that, see, I want German Reich, that is all Germans under Germany. But this was the first time that non-Germans were taken over. Right? So therefore, that was a breach. Then in 1939, Hitler signs 10-year non-aggression pact with USSR. क्या बेवकूफ बना रहा है आदमी? Anti-Comintern Pact and फिर non-aggression pact. What is the brilliance? You know what is the brilliance? Brilliance is basically that if this is your Germany, this is your Germany, this is Poland, this is USSR. Now the problem is tensions because here capitalism is there and because communism is here. So yes, Germany is a common enemy, but because you are still communist, therefore that level of trust is not there between you, that you sign a military alliance. So rivalry between France and USSR, rivalry between capitalist world and the USSR, it came down because of rise of fascism, but not to that extent that you will become military partners. Why? Because some politicians, they are thinking that maybe Hitler is good for us. Because Great Depression is there. Everywhere communism is rising. What if USSR takes benefit of weak economy and it takes over Poland? Then who will stop USSR? Triangle है ना? Triangle है. Right? Bilateral नहीं है, triangle है. Right? So ऐसा. And now Hitler says what to USSR? Right? Second reason is, at times USSR is also blamed for World War II. Why? Because of this 10-year non-aggression pact. Right? What is the side of USSR? Side of the USSR is that at that point of time we were not 100% ready for a war, but we always knew that sooner or later Germany will attack us. We wanted to buy time, and therefore we bought time by signing 10-year non-aggression pact. In fact, proof is also there. USSR after 1929 started shifting. These are Ural mountains. This is also USSR, right? USSR shifted all the factories on the right hand side of Ural mountains, because it always believed, Stalin 1929 to 1953 always believed that there will always be an attack from the west, because capitalism cannot tolerate communism. That was his belief. अब वो attack कहाँ से आएगा? From Germany or from France? From where? Right? So therefore he had shifted his capital here to the right, his factories here. Right? So it wanted to buy time. It was not ready at that point of time to fight a war. Right? ऐसा. What was the non-aggression pact? As part of the non-aggression pact, we will not attack each other. Point number one. Point number two, आधा तुम ले लियो, आधा हम ले लियो. Poland is like, oh, मेरा वाला non-aggression pact. कौन सा? When we are in pursuit of great nation, nothing else matters. Take that non-aggression pact, tear it. Poland is like, यार बहुत गंदा कट गया, मतलब इधर से भी उधर से भी. Right. So therefore, Poland is attacked. Right. And as soon as Poland is attacked by Germany, now France, Britain, etc. did declare war on Germany. Why? And Hitler did not want World War II. He is not wrong. You have created a perception that I can do anything and you will not act. In fact, when he took over rest of Czechoslovakia, he is not taking Germans. But what are his demands in Poland? His demands in Poland are right demands. His demands in Poland are right demand. What is he demanding? He is basically saying that in the case of Poland, my demands are, point number one, I have been converted into a Pakistan, that is East Pakistan and West Pakistan, and in the middle there is Poland. You see this? Germany, East Prussia. So this is also Germany, this is also Germany, and in the middle this is Polish corridor. Right? So his demand was, allow me access to railroad network that connects East Germany with West Germany with East Germany, which is a legitimate demand. My two countries, they should be able to connect. That is one point. Right? Second point, he demanded that Danzig, which is a port here under League of Nations, it had 95% Germans. So Danzig should be with me, which is again legitimate demand. Right? But these demands, they came so soon after annexation of Czechoslovakia that Polish people, they were not ready to believe that ये व्यक्ति सिर्फ इतना ही चाहता है. Polish people, they believed that this person wants to eat the whole of Poland, or at least half of Poland. And they were right also. Because when Poland was attacked, it was attacked from all the sides, as if you are there to annex Poland. Right? And now the world powers, as soon as Poland was attacked, so as part of the Stresa front, Polish borders were also guaranteed, and उससे पहले आपके Locarno treaties में भी Polish borders were guaranteed. So therefore now Britain, France, they declared war on Germany. Right? After this, Poland is annexed. After this, what is the proof that Hitler did not want a world war? For 6 months, he did not do anything. After taking half of Poland, For 6 months, Hitler did not do anything. He was waiting. कि भाई मुझे तो चाहिए नहीं वर्ल्ड वॉर, मैं तो बस ये लिमिटेड चाहिए मेरे को, because my economy is not at that level. But when they did not sought peace, so he said कि more the time I give to them, more the time they are more stronger. So after that Hitler he started attack on France. But हाँ, फ्रांस को दोबारा पेल दिया. Britain defeated, France defeated. मतलब be it World War I, after Napoleon, France has not won any war. This is a joke on France actually. You can search Google jokes on France. After World War I, France has never won any war. Be it World War I, be it World War II, defeated in both. Right? इसमें strategy of Hitler was called Blitzkrieg. Blitzkrieg, जैसे मराठास का गुरिल्ला वॉरफेयर, Napoleon's fierce attack, speed and awe, shock and awe. So what will happen? Aeroplanes will come, right? Bombing will take place, right? Enemy will be like, what has happened? What has happened? Right? On the ground, right? Trucks, etc. Right? They will move in motorized divisions, right? ऐसा, right? Soldiers are firing. पीछे से tanks are coming. मतलब कि वो डायलॉग ना गैंग्स ऑफिसर का, इतना बम मारेंगे कि धुआं धुआं हो जाए. तो बेसिकली शॉक इज देयर ऑन द साइड ऑफ द एनिमी दैट व्हाट इज दिस. हर जगह तो ऊपर से बम पड़ रहा, नीचे से बम पड़ रहा, पीछे से बम पड़ रहा, हर जगह बम पड़ रहा. ठीक है, व्हाट इज मतलब दिस काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो इट इज देयर, ह्यूज अमाउंट, राइट. सो as Blitzkrieg, see Germany has 1933 to 1939, only 6 years it has. So actually it was this Blitzkrieg technology, technique or strategy, which was responsible for many victories of Germany. Otherwise, if you force Germany to fight a longer war, its economy will exhaust. So basis was quick victories, right? So in the initial phase, Germans were very, very successful. Germans were very, very successful, right? So this is how your World War II is actually beginning. Right, in the first half of the World War II, they were more successful. 10 minutes more I'll take. After that, off will be there. So बस लिख लो इसको थोड़ा सा. Write down reasons for WW2. Reasons for WW2. Obviously, I'm not going to make you write down these events. Answer में हम events लिख भी नहीं सकते. But overall, एक reasons, broad scenario. Reasons for World War II. First point, harsh, unjust TOV. Harsh, unjust TOV. Harsh, unjust TOV. मतलब if Treaty of Versailles had not been harsh, Hitler पैदा ही नहीं होता. Hitler would not have been there, है ना? People would not have supported Hitler. Second point, माने कि there were certain grievances which were there because of the Treaty of Versailles. Second point, GD 1929. GD 1929 led to rise of communism. GD 1929 led to rise of communism, which allowed Hitler to use fear of communism. Which allowed Hitler to use fear of communism. Full stop. Economic crisis. Continue कर लो, next point. GD 1929 का economic crisis hurt popularity of Weimar Republic. Economic crisis hurt popularity of Weimar Republic. Plus Hitler promised restoring German prestige. Hitler promised restoring German prestige by breaking TOV. By breaking TOV. Post of GD 1929 also led to POA. GD 1929 also led to POA. That led to popularity and success. That led to popularity and success of fascists. that led to popularity and success of fascists. Why? Since the world is not acting, so Japan is continuously doing things, and military will be able to prove to people of Japan that, see, we are able to achieve success, right? So inaction. So Hitler can claim victory because the world is not acting against Hitler, है ना? तभी. Next point. Horrors of WW1. Horrors of WW1 led to public pressure on governments to follow POA. Well, आप लोग मानेंगे नहीं, when Chamberlain was the Pradhan Mantri of Britain, when he goes to Munich conference, and after that when he comes back from Munich conference, which gives Sudetenland to Hitler, people are cheering Chamberlain like anything, that you are harbinger of peace, you have ensured that world will stay peaceful, we love you Chamberlain. Why? Because by giving Sudetenland, there is a feeling that now Hitler will no more go to war. ऐसा सदमा बैठ गया World War I का. This kind of situation was there. Next point. Failure of LON or a weak LON. Dash, it did not have its own army. Plus, principle of collective security weakened in 1923 when military contribution for maintenance of world peace was made voluntary. Next point. Hitler responsible as determined to break TOV and create Third Reich / empire. Reich means empire. Third Reich. By bringing all Germans under Germany. Under a unified Germany, bringing all German populated areas. मतलब ऐसा नहीं कि travel कर जाओ, नहीं, wherever you are living, that land should also come into Germany, right? ऐसा. Bride में स्टाल आके 1870 dash Greater Germany unfulfilled. 1870 dash Greater Germany unfulfilled. Brackets closed. Full stop. Plus dream of Lebensraum. Of Hitler. Dream of Lebensraum of Hitler. that is living space for Germans. That is living space for future German generations. Living space for future German generations. By capturing all region to the east, by capturing all region to the east till Ural Mountains, all regions to the east till Ural Mountains. Full stop. If this was goal, then WW2 was inevitable. If this was goal, then WW2 was inevitable. होना ही था, inevitable. Well, some people they say that ऐसा उसका dream था, right? So that's why we have added the word if, right? Next point, role of USSR. Role of USSR. Dash signed 10-year non-aggression pact 1939. Signed 10-year non-aggression pact 1939 with Germany. Therefore ending possibility of alliance with France, / two-front war against Germany. Therefore boosting confidence of Hitler. Full stop. However, from USSR perspective, it wanted to buy time. As was not ready to fight war right away. Example, shifted factories to east of Ural Mountains. As Stalin always believed, in future attack. Stalin always believed in future attack from west. Plus needed time for completing IR. Last paragraph. Y-axis powers. Question right on. Y-axis powers lost WW2. Y-axis powers lost WW2. First point, until 1942, highly successful. Until 1942, highly successful. Full stop. Defeated France. Defeated France. As France was unprepared. As France was unprepared. Plus no military alliance with USSR. Plus no military alliance with USSR. Plus mistake of following defensive policy, mistake of following defensive policy, therefore not attacking Germany for 6 months, not attacking Germany during 6-month phony war. 6-month phony war. 6-month phony war. In brackets, after Poland defeat. 6-month phony war after Poland defeat. That gave Germany time. For military mobilization. That gave Germany time for military mobilization. Next point. German Blitzkrieg. German Blitzkrieg. German Blitzkrieg. Dash simultaneous, massive attack by air and ground. Simultaneous massive attack by air and ground. Dash led to quick victories for Germany. Led to quick victories. Therefore, Air Force played important role. Air Force played important role. Full stop. From 1942, Britain, US. From 1942, Britain, US made effective use of Air Force. Made effective use of Air Force. Made effective use of Air Force. Next point. Why Axis lost? या फिर Axis lost because. Axis lost because. Axis lost because. First point, resource imbalance. Resource imbalance. Therefore, longer the war, lower chances of victory. Lower chances of victory. So you see, on one side, US, which is the number one economic power of the world in 1914 itself, plus Britain and its colonies, France, second largest colonial empire, versus it was actually Germany versus the rest. Japan is there, but it is geographically very far away, right? So Italy has Italy, it proved to be a disaster. It proved to be a burden. So this is a resource imbalance. Next point. Germans lost after attacking USSR. Germans lost after attacking USSR. Germans lost after attacking USSR. कब अटैक किया था? 1941 में, अगस्त या जून 1941 में अटैक किया था. ठीक है. Initially they were victorious, but the Russians, they followed the same technique. आजा, right? Napoleon वाला technique. Come inside, come deep inside. After that, there were October rains, right? And therefore the roads became very muddy. Temperatures minus 20 degrees Celsius. And these people, they had anticipated a quick victory. They had not brought winter clothes, right? क्या लिखा सेंटेंस पूरा करना? बैटल ऑफ स्टालिनग्राड लिखना है मैं. जर्मन्स लॉस्ट आफ्टर अटैकिंग यूएसएसआर in battle of Stalingrad. In battle of Stalingrad. In battle of Stalingrad. Battle of Stalingrad. As came unprepared for October rains. As came unprepared for October rains and harsh winters. As expected quick victory. Plus lost battle of Britain, where Germany lost more aircrafts. Lost battle of Britain, where Germany lost more aircrafts. Next point, Italy equal to very poor ally. Italy equal to very poor ally. Therefore, Germany had to divert resources. To rescue Italian forces. Full stop. 1943, Britain defeated Italy. 1943, Britain defeated Italy. Second last point. Two big mistakes equal to attacking USSR and US. Attacking USSR and US in 1941. So Japan attacked US and Germany attacked USSR. Why? Because now you see, अब इसमें USSR भी ऐड कर दो. USSR also had huge resources, right? ऐसा. Last point. US focused more on producing aircraft carriers. US focused more on producing aircraft carriers. While Japan on surface ships. therefore defeated Japan. Therefore defeated Japan. तो एक चीज आप नोटिस करिए, वर्ल्ड वॉर 1 सी पावर, वर्ल्ड वॉर 2 ए पावर, एयर पावर. Those powers which use air power. So next class we will discuss impact of World War II, and next class we will discuss this ideology of fascism, communism. This ideology we'll see. ठीक है ऐसा. तो और कोल्ड वॉर फिर करेंगे. ठीक है, आइडियोलॉजी हम कर लेंगे. बेसिकली हमारा क्या रहता है, हमारे तो आइडियोलॉजी रहता है, दूसरा हमारा कोल्ड वॉर रहता है. ठीक है, उस तरीके से. ठीक है, ये है. अब कोल्ड वॉर क्या है कि उतना डिटेल में नहीं करेंगे जितना हम पहले वाले बैचेस में करते थे. उतना डिटेल मानेगी, पहले तो ऑप्शनल वाले लेवल तक कर देते थे हम. ठीक है, जीएस वाले लेवल से करेंगे. ठीक है ना, जीएस वाले लेवल से करेंगे, अच्छा करेंगे जो करेंगे, बट विल बी फोकसिंग मोर ऑन दी इंटेलिजेंट पार्ट्स रादर देन दी स्मॉल इवेंट्स जो फालतू में टाइम खा जाते हैं. ठीक है, तो कोशिश करेंगे उस तरीके से, एक इंटेलिजेंट तरीके से, ताकि कोल्ड वॉर पे आंसर हम अच्छे इफेक्टिव तरीके से कर पाए. ठीक है, तो देखते हैं कितनी क्लास और लगेंगी. मैम अभी मैं खुद श्योर नहीं हूं कि कितनी क्लास और लगेंगी, बट देखते हैं कैसे निकलता है. ठीक है ना.